Boom, we are live Thursday night. It's not Friday. I'm about to say Friday. Double podcast this week, guys. It's going to be exciting. I'm just going to get right into it because, we ain't got time for the small talk right now. So let's go. This is episode 29, I believe. All right. What's good, y'all? This is C-Certified BrewHead, and welcome to episode 29 of BrewHeads, the podcast, Adjunct series, quarantine edition. This evening, I have a special one. If you are a long-time listener / viewer, you will know these gentlemen and their gorgeous faces and their gorgeous beer. This evening, I am once again joined by Noah Forrest from Beerism, co-hosting, and Mike and Keegan from Four Origins in Montreal. Round of applause. What's good, boys? Look at y'all. You guys can't hear it. I have sound effects, but you can't hear it live. Hey,
we'll hear it after. Right?
You hear it after, exactly. How's everybody doing?
Good, yourself?
Mate, I'm glorious.
Pretty good, man.
Everyone's
ready to go.
Keegan, you froze, but I guess you'll probably come back in shortly. This is the old Skype.
Mid-clap there.
There's mid-clap. Can you hear us, though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm sure it'll kick back in. Skype is one of those ridiculous things. Really great to see both your faces, man. I haven't seen you guys probably since... I mean, we did the podcasts when you opened. It wasn't long after, I think, right? So that would have been
in the first 2 weeks, I think.
Yes, it was super early. What? When was that? Was that 2018?
2018, yeah.
Okay.
I think probably around April, May or June.
Okay. I have a feeling it was cold.
It was raining, and I had a pretty thick jacket, so it was chilly.
So it could have been around that April. Okay. And then we did a couple of separate videos with regard to the independent seal, which I guess we could touch back on there because probably a lot has changed in that space.
Sure.
Since you guys were doing it. And then I've been to every time I went to the brewery, I've seen Keegan almost every time, but I haven't seen you, Mike, in forever.
Well, it's because I don't actually work there anymore, but no. Well, more of a day versus night thing. Like I tend to spend most of the time with the production team, and the nightlife. If you want to get up there for the start of the brew or the next morning, doesn't really work out.
No, I can imagine. The brewer's life seems pretty intense. So speaking of brews, maybe we should crack the first one, and we'll talk about that beer, and then we'll get into like some of the history for people who didn't see the last episode and stuff, and go from there. So the first one is
Am I still frozen?
You're still frozen, Keegan, and Mike just froze too. Actually, I just noticed.
Wait, can I freeze as I got my hat backwards and glasses? I kind of look like you now.
I wonder if
you're
still clapping. I think Mike Mike full disappeared. So hopefully he'll just there you go, kick back in.
Can you still see me?
I can see you, Noah. You haven't changed. Mike, you're back?
I'm back.
You're back. Keegan, maybe if you turn your video off then turn it back on, it might like unfreeze it. Let's give that a try. So when Keegan dropped this off, Mike, you didn't tell me this about it, but you guys call this the COVID lager?
Yeah. Well, essentially what happened is, March 16th, the news dropped, and we immediately lost one of our brewers, head brewer Braden, actually, because he had to stay at home with the kid because the daycare is closed.
Right.
So we were 3 people left actually, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. Like I don't know if it was just me, but like there were those last 2 weeks of March, like where it was like pretty much what's happening.
Yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, and we've been running at like such a high steam that we're like now might be the only chance to get a lager in those things.
Right, because you're just constantly pumping beers out, so.
Yeah, so we pumped it in there, and I think overall it spent 10 weeks in the tanks.
That's insane.
Yeah. And Keegan can talk to you a little bit about the can itself, because you could tell us a little bit about our regular brand.
Yes, the short can. It's got like the printed, the label with the raised. I love the raised part. It's sick.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a question about your branding because you seem to be going in a different direction a bit, even with the taller cans. So I'm wondering if you
Yeah.
can talk to that too.
First of all, cheers, guys.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you, but we can't see you at all. Did you turn it back on?
Yeah, I turned it back on. I'm not sure what. Should I try logging off and logging back in on my phone again? Maybe my computer is just too old.
You could definitely try that, and it'll kick right back in.
All right,
Yeah.
give me a sec.
Yeah, man, yours. So yeah, sorry, no, we'll go.
I'll let as soon as Keegan gets on, I'll let him take the branding aspect because he's pretty much full running with that now. But I think I'll let him talk about like the new, because like our latest beers that have been coming out are definitely a different template than our previous ones. But the lager specifically for us was like I get the whole Pilsner lager coming back into craft,
Yeah.
but the issue that there's no one that can argue is always going to come down to price. And like it's not something that you can, like, for the effort that it takes like a micro craft brewery to make, especially if that brewery is like at capacity or near it and they don't just have tanks letting things linger. You can't get to that. So what we did is we're like, fuck it, you know, like we put it in these small cans because we're like, let's try to do like a macro look for a microbrewery. And after it got packaged, I was like, this kind of looks like Carling's.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But very minimal, no name. We actually just called it lager, and it was the first can we put our new slogan on. And then people were like, "Oh yeah, I really like the Confiance en Soi beer."
We wanted to give it a little bit of imported look too, but not imported.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like the very simplistic, sleek, not much to think about kind of look.
Like almost like a premium import look thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Premium domestic.
Premium domestic. I like that. I mean, look, because that's the point, right? You're trying to get, this is like a, people buy, would the idea is that you don't buy like 1 or 2 cans. You buy this probably in like 4, 6, 12 packs type of thing. It feels like the type of beer that you're going to stock up on because
we sell it at the brewery for in 4 packs only for like $13.
That's great.
Good.
So yeah, we didn't have a beer that was this easy to drink, I guess, except Ironworks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to go after,
it's really good.
We wanted to go towards like, it was the summer, so like the guys and girls that wanted to just have something simple but easy to drink, and kind of the branding that kind of went with that, very simple. And yeah, the beer is fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorites right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say this might be my favorite thing that you guys have done.
Yeah, this is really good.
Well, I think we went to that, like, like there's this idea of like blonde beer. The way that we see it, Ironworks being a blonde and an ale, blonde, whatever. We could talk about fermentation and on, but there's always that, like, there's grain, it's made with malt, and there's always that nuance of like fresh barley. Some people get like light hay, or like some people get like actual like broken grain taste. Whereas like in a lager, again, it takes time, it's energy, but like if you have the space and you just let it do its thing, it's almost as if it's just like, the big guys say like liquid gold when it pours, but it's just so smooth. And like we use noble hops on this, a combination of Saz, which is like very very traditional, but the guy in like the forefront here is Strissel's fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I get that herbal Saz thing. Like I feel like a lot of pilsners have that that strong wheat character, or that grain character with like a honeyness almost. Whereas in this is almost more on the hoppy herbal side a bit more, but it's still there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What's kind of lager style? Is it like a Helles? Is it like any specific lager that you're going for with this one?
I think it would have been a mix of like, you could tell that I wouldn't say that there's like a lingering bitterness, but you could tell that there's definitely some IBUs that close that experience.
For sure.
So I think we went for like kind of like that Czech Pils finish, but I was like, at the end of the day, I'm like, we might have got more of a German taste. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. I find that it's a little bit more round than some of the Czech Pils I've had in the past. It's definitely more on that end, but I found that there's still a solid malt character in the mouth.
It's a bit drier, right?
Yeah.
It's not as sweet as the
like a
Czech Pilsners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely get that. That's what I kind of lean, I would say, more towards a Helles or something as opposed to a Pilsner. And maybe it's maybe it's that other hop, the Strisselspalt or something gives it a different vibe, because I guess, you have a Czech Pils is always going to have just that Saz, and so it's probably a little less fruity. I'm getting a little bit of fruit vibes, which I really, really appreciate in this. It almost, like, it's like a step below like a dry hop lager. Is it dry hop? I guess it's not dry hop, right? It's just regular.
It actually is dry hop.
It is, okay. Well, maybe that's where that's coming from. I like that. I like that little characteristic there. It's still, like you said, bready and cereal, and like the cracked grain. That's a nice visual, actually. When you said that, I think that's dope. But it gives you that little dry hop, but not like the over the top. It's almost like a bit more restrained as far as that fruity tropicalness in there. It's great, guys. So is this something that's going to be? I mean, obviously tank space permitting, but is this something that you can continue to pump out, or is this kind of like a short-term thing?
Go ahead, Keegan.
Yeah, I think it was a short-term thing. I don't think we'll be doing this again anytime soon.
Okay.
Just because it needs so much time to ferment, and we only have 6 tanks right now.
Okay.
But yeah, we'd love to get into lagers a bit more. We just need more space to be able to do that.
Right.
Exactly.
We need some horizontal tanks.
Yeah.
At some point.
Those things are cool.
Tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, Jean-Lib's releasing a special edition of their Pilsner that he aged in a big fooder for 6 months.
Oh my god, I would love to do that. That sounds like I had Coup de Foudre from Les Grands Bois.
Okay.
I think they were one of the first to age a lager in barrels. I mean, historically, it's always been done like that, but it's aged in Sauvignon barrels. If I'm not, like a white wine type. I think they might change it from time to time, but it's a white wine barrel.
That's dope.
It's super, super clean. Very nice. I think it even lightens it a bit, the wood. And it's...
that slight tannic profile, which kind of it up even more in the finish. Mm-hmm. He's done it before, so this is his second time doing it, but this time it's a longer period of lagering, I think.
Nice. I find that so interesting right now, the breweries that are aging their lagers. I think that's very, very cool. We'd love to do that in the future for sure.
Hey, hopefully you guys have the room for it, I guess, because you got the high ceilings and shit.
Yeah.
Steve,
need a different type of forklift.
Oh, really? Like a crane. Steve from Third Moon is in the building. What up, fam? And he says the tank space struggle is real. He feels you. You guys definitely should connect. I can definitely see something happening now. Are you guys familiar?
Sure.
You guys know Third Moon in Ontario?
No, they're beer. We've been there though.
Yeah, they opened during COVID. They had a tough time opening, but
that can't be.
They opened during COVID.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Start.
Oh my god.
Same day as Cinquième Baron, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they kind
of. Cinquième Baron opened during COVID also.
Yeah.
I thought they were just before that.
No, they were right in the middle as well. It's got to be
hard enough. It's hard enough
right?
opening as it is. Like your first year as a brewery is pretty tough. Can't imagine during COVID. Although like the support I think from like the local, from people for craft beer right now is pretty awesome. So it could be a good thing too.
Yeah, and both those breweries kind of out of the gates are brewing stuff that is really popular. So I'm sure that helped a bit too. Like they can't even
keep up.
Can't even keep up
with the demand at this point. Yeah, both those breweries.
Definitely fortunate.
there's a real kind of ironic situation here. I mean, at least in Quebec, I think in Ontario it's a little bit further along with this. We've spoken about what's a tap room versus a brew pub.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the main things being that generally when you have a tap room, it means you're probably attached to a production license rather than an artisanal one. And that is probably the biggest struggle during COVID right now. Our breweries, regardless of whether you set up for distribution or to serve pints in your place, if you didn't have canning or packaging on the radar when this started, that's really like where it's like, okay, well, we pivoted versus holy shit,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the toughest time. I heard that it's, the mobile canners are obviously booked till forever. I can imagine that's going to be super tough for them as well, trying to keep up, and then also probably the people selling the aluminium cans to begin with, like the silver bullets.
Shortage.
I imagine,
there's a shortage.
So that stuff as well, and even the can, if breweries have access to the funds, they want to go and drop a few $100K on their own canning machine. I believe they're even hard to get now. So it seems like that whole process from start to finish is like really tough. So it's
something we didn't even think about happen this summer was a lid shortage. I never heard of that before, but the actual lids. So I'm like, I could get some cans, but no freaking lids. It's the same problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So it
was just issue after issue. It was nuts.
That's even crazier when you think about it. Like, if the cans, it's the same material, so I guess with the same people who make the cans would arguably make the lids, I would guess.
Yeah, it's the same guys.
So why?
It's not just about the stainless steel as much as the stamp upon it. It's also a large consigne thing, because the lids say consigne 20 cents in Quebec. There is an overall stainless issue, but let's say Quebec actually gave a temporary, basically breathing room to breweries, saying, okay, well, look, I'm not gonna make you guys stop canning beer, so here you go. And there's also the thing, at the same time, let's say Quebec had this thing where they're like, you guys can't use synthetic labels anymore. So all these breweries that have synthetic labels on their cans, they were technically supposed to, Keegan, I forget the date, but that was supposed to be eliminated.
Right.
It is now.
Really?
It was September 20th or something, and then they extended it to September 20th of next year.
Okay, and when you're saying this is just for people to know, you mean the plastic wrap around a can?
Yeah, so any labels pretty much that go around your can that you're putting in after you're canning. Most
even
breweries,
that wouldn't be allowed?
Well, ours are paper.
There's a paper,
so far,
Right.
we're allowed paper. But most breweries will label right after they can, so the can's wet. So those are the only labels that could kind of stick to a wet can and be waterproof. Our paper, we have to let the can sweat a little bit, so it stops to condense or have condensate, and then we could wrap our label around it when it's dry.
Okay.
Yeah, because if we were to wrap it wet, it would the paper would disintegrate too much.
Okay, so I thought you meant those ones where it's like a full can, say above the sticker you just had there, like that little gap, the ones that take up the whole thing.
Yeah.
They're
the
not
sleeve.
as the sleeve, yeah. So the shrink wrap is not what they're talking about. They're talking actual plastic stickers.
Well, both, anything that's plastic. So the stickers, the sleeves won't be allowed, all that stuff.
Damn. So what is there? Everybody will move to these paper labels?
Well, I think
or print.
A lot of people are on print right now with hard print and solid can, and there's a third one, I forget their name, but they're not able to keep up. They're all ordering second and third machines. I know Heartprint is not taking any new clients at the moment.
Yeah, I heard.
So, and their lead times are 8 weeks now.
Mastorum's gonna be fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll do whatever they want anyway, and then they'll just get hit with any fines, and they'll just pay the fines and keep on doing what they're doing. Yeah. I don't think they give a shit. But yeah, I mean, we were looking at moving to more synthetic labels too, just because it's easy. It's easier to plan. You don't have to have your cans kind of sit for a day and like air out. And then we figured out we can't do that either. And then printing is another logistical nightmare because of the long lead time. So we kind of have to wait for the printers to catch up to the market. And I know Ball is building a new plant next year.
Okay.
So hopefully we won't have any can shortages, but I think we're heading towards a can shortage again this summer or next summer.
That's so crazy.
If you can imagine, like, this was all happening, right? Like, let's say Quebec had this lined up for September for synthetic labels. The printed cans were on the rise regardless. I think it was more of a practicality thing. Like, we chose to go paper. We love the texture. It made us unique. But at the end of the day, we intentionally kept a labor-intensive process. And, like, all this was going to be gradual, but COVID made it kind of mandatory and created this organic bottleneck in the industry where everyone was rushing in at the same place. Not only were like cans in need, but it's like, oh shit, printed cans are in need. And it's just nuts, man.
Damn, man. Yeah, that is a real shame. I do like the paper labels. I like the feel of them. The only downside I learned, because I don't know if you guys do this, but like Tiff and I are pretty full on when you go to the supermarket. We wash everything, and, before we put it away now and shit, just because I don't know, you don't know how the hell this shit is transmitted. So I wash all the beer cans, and I was touching them. I was like, oh no, is this gonna get ruined? But they all held up pretty well. I was a little worried. At first, I let them sit. I normally would just get them, wipe them off with a towel, and then put them in the fridge. But I let it sit for a little bit and kind of dabbed it off, and none of them got ruined. So that was my only concern, because I need them for photos, and obviously I want to show them. Nice. I don't want this like torn out. Hey guys, check this shitty ass label. Yeah, but it held up really well. They're super nice. So hopefully.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but definitely the print ones, I guess, kind of like. But it's kind of different. I like these overall print ones. Say for something that's more like a regular thing, but I really like the stickers just on the can, because it shows that it's like a smaller batch, and I'm like, hey, this is like a beer I'm not gonna get all the time. You know what I mean? It's like that correlation that a lot of people have with it. So
it's like a psychological thing.
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be a process for all this stuff over time.
Yeah, we're working with our printer right now to have to find a kind of glue. The problem is the glue, actually.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna look at a glue that kind of could go onto cans that are wet, but keep the paper feel.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just they're not 100% sure where. Like they know some exist, but it depends on price, I guess. If like it can't double the price of our can right away, because then it wouldn't be feasible. But
right.
There's a couple of options. Apparently, we're waiting for them to kind of come back to us.
I mean, it probably will double the cost. Like, look at the 4 packages that are organic that those in the sea can eat. Like, I love it. I want us to do that, but we can't pay $1 for 4-pack. Like, we actually don't even do that anymore. Like, we created all of our other packaging to not have to put 4-pack. One, it's super people. People throw them in the recycling bin. And two, it's just throwing more money at what originally was utility. And as the craft beer industry grew, it became cool to like walk away with one finger holding 4 cans. Cool, but it's just I mean, it's not practical.
So you're talking those ones that are like the decomposable ones, whatever they call them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen those ones, but I didn't know they were that expensive. They're gonna have to bring that down, or it's redundant.
I think it's made with the plant. That's why.
Yeah, plant-based, I think. Yeah.
Right. Just like $1 a pop on top of maybe doubling your can prices because of aluminium shortages is just going to be, not sustainable. Or the beer prices are going to have to go up, and people are going to be pissed as well. So it's like, what do you do?
Wait, the beer prices are going to go up more?
If your packaging costs go up more, I would imagine. Say, like Keegan was just saying, they might have to double. It might double the cost of the aluminium, and including also the actual packaging with including these new labels with this different glue and stuff.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if you went and got the sustainable 4-pack holder, which obviously people would like to see, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't have to wear all of that because that doesn't make a lot of sense. So the only way to do that is to pass on that expense to the consumer, and then people are going to be upset because their beer is more expensive.
We're hitting a massive ceiling though. Like, I'm sure you guys get the benefit of like getting those beers just, you know, in order for us to talk about them and whatnot. But like, you also go buy your beers and like getting insane out there.
Yeah.
The pricing wise.
Well, especially with the IPAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in general, like I was just looking at Hellwoods from Bellwoods, which is a favorite of mine, and it just dropped today, and it's up to $10 a can.
Whoa.
Nice.
I mean, it's like a barrel aged. Oh, it's non-barrel aged. Yeah, that's
the
pretty good.
Void also dropped, which is the brandy barrel aged.
Dead.
That was like 15 or so for a 500 ml bottle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going up everywhere, it seems. But honestly, like compared to Quebec prices, $10 for a 500 ml imperial stout isn't all that high. When Bach Canada is dropping $21 pastry stouts that never spent time in a barrel. So
yeah, it's
the way things are going, it seems.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
It almost seems if it's more expensive, more people buy it.
Sometimes.
If you price it too low, you won't necessarily have more sales.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it depends on
quality. It's a quality perception sometimes.
I think it sort of depends on the style. Like Noah, you're talking about the Misorum or whatever type of that type of like high-paced stuff. Those consumers will, like, they'll probably complain about it, but they'll pay whatever it costs. If it's $30, $40 4-packs, then so be it. They'll pay it. But when you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, like, I think to defend the brewers too, like, defend. I don't think they're making some mad profit. I think they're just buying.
It's expensive.
Very expensive ingredients.
Yeah.
Basically, not caring what they put in because they want it to be as perfect as they want it to be. So they're buying high grade vanilla or whatever.
Exactly.
And that's what's driving, or like the amount of, I don't know, whatever they're putting in there. Macadamia nuts aren't cheap, so that kind of stuff just drives the prices up.
Just to like defend the brewers too, like I think something that the public doesn't necessarily think of is you know, you can use the analogy of like having a personal line of credit, right? These guys are, I say these guys because we're not there yet, are buying barrels, they're brewing the beer, they're going to buy Madagascar or whatever the latest country is of vanilla beans. Yeah. Put it in the barrel, whatever, they're going to let it sit for 9 months, right? Those 9 months have an interest in the money you paid on day one. Mm. It's not necessarily about the product cost, but it's the fact that you know, I spent $1,000 today on this one barrel with its ingredients, and now I have to sit on that $1,000 investment for 9 months. And like the thing is, with brewing and manufacturing, it's like high up with your capital. So there definitely is a large margin, but if you're willing to like put your cash out there and sit on nothing, you hope to get that return in the future. And it doesn't always pan out. That's the other thing.
Mm. And there's risk that there's could get infected along the way, and then it's all done.
Yeah, exactly.
You see that too.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you really think about the actual amount of risk that you guys have to sort of put up front. It's pretty wild, and I think people kind of always forget that sometimes when it comes to maybe if they're complaining about prices online or things like that. I feel like the real craft beer people understand, like, all right, well, if this whatever pastry stout is $20-something bucks, they understand why, particularly when you look at the ingredients. I feel like these days, but typically, maybe people just don't even think about it. Like, it's just this can appears in my fridge. Like, of course, why did you charge me so much for it? They just sort of don't really think about it. And then, of course, there's more breweries, which means more competition to purchase the hops. And then if you want the hops that people really want, it's hard to get Sabro or Nelson and blah, blah, blah. So there's like all these factors that I just don't think people really consider.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting.
Can we crack open number 2?
Yes, sure. which is next one. I imagine the pale was either the wit was a bit boozier than the pale, so I wasn't sure which order it needed to go. You guys are in charge there.
I'd like to do 514 and State of Mind back to back.
Okay.
So
do you want to do the block?
The width for later, but we could do either State or Blanche to success.
This one or?
Oh shit! I just cracked the pale. I thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna say I would like to do the pale.
That's the decision.
Okay, so empty. For 514.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. Nice. So tell us about this beer, because I was we were all chatting for the last probably week or so. So I got a bit of a lowdown from you guys on Messenger there. But thank you, brother. Let me just show the people here what we're looking at. Come on. There we go.
Well, aside from the flavor profile of this beer, before you guys start talking about it, what I'll say, one of the things that impressed me the most about it is that you gave that can to me, maybe like 4 weeks ago, Mike, and you canned that in July, and it held up super well. So for a beer of that style, you guys did something right with that. I don't know how you managed to do
that. Mike's amazing. It's just
it's our whole production team. We've I have to give it to our brewers, Braden and Nick, and quality control Maya and everyone involved. But we put like serious investment in sensory analysis and tasting panels in the brewery, and really monitor. The reason we do that is because Maya set up a program where essentially we taste a fresh product, a 3-month comparable, 6 months, and even like a 9-month to a year. And what we'll monitor is like basically that recipe, like what's the real longevity of that? Because at the end of the day, kind of goes back to what we said about, you can put all this money in a barrel, time, but the brewery has a responsibility to package something and then accurately descript it. So if I'm gonna sell a hazy pale ale, it's not an India pale ale, it's not a NEPA. Like, I don't think 3 months is fair, and you know what, at the end of the day, people don't freaking know that it's 3 months, man. Like, this is just not clear. Like, so that's another problem, but we're not gonna go down that. But yeah, so we wanted a pale ale. We wanted hazy because the market wants hazy. Like, at the end of the day, like a good English mild or a traditional English pale ale, or even an American pale ale just doesn't hold it today. No. So we're like, fuck it, let's take that idea and let's haze it. Let's get it that juicy, all citrus / tropical aroma. But let's make a product too that doesn't go brown or that doesn't necessarily fade in less than half a year.
I like it. I'm excited to try it. We'll have them on. Fuck. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
What hops are in this one?
This guy is Big Secret, Citra, and this is my third. Give me a second here. We've just been upping the haze, so I'm like, now I'm getting lost in the hops.
Yeah.
Lost in the hops.
Ooh, that's a good episode name.
Yeah.
It's a good beer name.
It's a good beer name. Write it down, Mike. Write it down. Somebody write it down.
Lost in hops.
Lost in the hops. Yeah, I'm changing.
I think I'm gonna steal that one.
No, you should totally take it. It'd be great, and then it'll tie back to the episode. Everybody wins.
No.
Where is it? Here we go. Episode 29. I had to call it something when I put it here. I can't remember what I put, but I always gotta slap something in. But this is good. Lost in the hops. Yeah, love that. Fuck yeah. So this one was canned August 24th. So that's
Equinox.
Equinox. Okay, so Equinox, Big
Yeah.
Secret, and what else did you say?
Citra.
Nice. So this was canned about 2 months ago, and this is holding up well, man. So you guys aren't considering this a New England pale ale? It's a hazy pale ale. It's like, is there a difference in the way that you're positioning it, or the way that it was, more importantly, the way that it was brewed? Like, why is it after 2 months like it should be donezo?
I think it's more. That's a big question.
Hitting you with the hard ones off the rip, Mike.
Yeah. So like, I think it's mainly a matter of maybe this is the wrong word, but like we look at most things as I think we talk a lot of 4 Origins about the word sessionable.
Okay.
That's like probably like a central aspect to decide like how are we like what's the direction we want to take this? How do we want to brew it? It comes down in 2020 probably mainly to 3 things, and it's aromatics, body, and residual sugar. Those 3, and I say body and residual sugar very importantly as separate things because you can choose to have something that'll have that round mouth profile, probably like a lot of people describe New England's as silky.
Yep.
You can have all that without having like an orange juice hangover, right? That's a choice. It kind of the line gets blurred where it's assumed that if you have something that's full, it means there's more sugar. But those are 2 different aspects of the brew day to take into account. So why Hazy Pale Ale? Because like this has our signature 4.0 dry finish. It's not thin, but it's not full. And it has that aromatic intensity that I think any pale ale, whether English, American, old, new, should have. Like a pale ale is about color. It's being more orange than yellow, and it's about having a taste profile, being pintable, but also having a nice aroma.
Okay, that makes sense. It definitely has that the mouthfeel of of what I would consider a New England pale ale, I guess, if you want to call it. I imagine there's like wheat and something in there that's giving it that smoothness.
Yeah, it's we've been diving like head straight into oats. Used to be the way that the
oats, sorry, of course. Yeah,
exactly.
Oat flakes, perfect. No, it's great and it's nice and it's tropical, but not over the top.
I don't see too many hazy pale ales out there either.
No, they're not super common.
No.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an introductory beer to the New England IPAs, maybe. What we wanted to do to kind of like help some people maybe get interested in it.
Okay.
We seem to do that a lot with beer. Like in general, we like to make stuff that's like you could have a couple of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the customers that come to our place are usually not people that are deep into craft beer yet. So like we ask them what's like your favorite beer, what do you drink usually, and a lot of the times they name like a well-known brand, and then they try us a couple of times and then and then the next time you see them they're drinking like a caffeine, which is like very craft, it's a cappuccino stout, so it's always cool to see that. So we like to do that a lot with the beers, is kind of introduce people to something, get them kind of hooked on like a style or make them discover something new, and then they kind of could take that line and go deeper with us or with other breweries too.
What I always find interesting about what you guys do is like most of the time, if not all the time, your stuff doesn't have an abrasiveness to it. So like even like a newer palate won't take a sip of it, and if they're not used to it, will be turned off, in the sense that like,
yeah,
everything ends up snowballing, right? Like as booze, like I don't know what was it, like 6-7 years ago, the big thing was like giant beers that were up to like 16%, like the McKellar stuff and all that, and then it was a different trend, and now it's like the big pastry thing or the insane haze stuff. So like as much as a lot of people with like a young palate can walk into Missorum and fall in love immediately, I'm sure there's also a whole other school of people who walk in there and they're like, why am I drinking Bernie hot pellets? Like, I don't get it, right? So, and it all, like so many things be related, like it becomes an acquired taste over time. So you get there and then you become hooked on it or whatever. But what I think you guys have done a good job of is just created like well-rounded, balanced stuff that is interesting and new, and a lot of the Mike Flair with the tea and like the stuff you've been doing since you were home brewing, adding all these interesting adjuncts that no one else is doing, but in a way that like, I mean, I think it's been your mission since the beginning is to do something accessible, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the term that I've used since day one is I don't know if this is something that other people use, but I really like to consider us as a gateway brewery.
Yeah.
And you know what? I say that very proudly in the sense that like I'm not afraid to like create a craft beer customer and then lose them because they decided that they really wanted to go full craft, and they decided that like maybe Four Origins is a little bit too easy drinking. You know what I mean? Like that's our choice. We want to make a beer. Like obviously we want variety. We do make beers that cater specifically to that audience. We make beer. We don't make much that caters like to mass market only. But we make things that cater to pretty much everyone, but have a nuance that attracts like that craft or artisanal. Like forget the word craft or micro. It's really about being a proud artisan, and like you said, Noah, like trying to put a tea in something, but not saturating green tea to the point where you have like a bitter tannic result. And like really appreciating the fact that like Apronaut, right? Our apricot pale ale, one of our main lines, like that beer isn't about adding fruit. That beer is about like a nicely blended apricot jasmine green tea that has been treated with respect in the brewing process to end up with a beer that smells like fruit but doesn't have any, and as a result doesn't have any extra calories or sugar or residual sweetness to go with it. Anyways, sorry, I'm rambling, but yeah.
No. It's a great answer.
About.
I was going to touch on what Noah was saying earlier. I always refer to you guys as the Gateway Brewery. I feel like if there's anywhere in the city, I would take someone who is newer to craft beer and wanted to explore some fun, flavors, and like you go like arguably like top 3 tap rooms in the city easily. It's beautiful. I love it. Wicked high ceilings. It's super warm and inviting and cozy. The patio's dope. The vibe is it's just a great place for like
thanks, man.
Really introducing people. I always enjoy my time at this spot. So I think it's always perfect, but you've got that like nice balance, which I think is just as important. So you've got like exactly what Noah and Michael just sort of said, like the way you approach the beer, you can get somebody in on the Ironworks or the Apronaut or something like that, and it won't scare them away, and it won't be too like in your face. But if you got like nerds like us coming in, there'll be some other crazy shit that like, all right, you can sit on now. I'm gonna go the lactose pumpkin porter and stuff like that, which we'll get to.
Let's calm down for a second.
That's the first ingredient, right?
Yeah, it's the lactose. That's what it is. It's lactose first.
Wait, I thought you didn't like lactose, or are you not on the lactose? Who's not on the lactose right now?
Noah.
You?
Me.
No, it's Noah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm team lactose.
Craig
You're
is all about the lactose.
Craig's team lactose.
Yeah.
Noah's.
Like the only reason, like Montreal, like Outremont has a bylaw that doesn't allow you to bring your cows into your place, but otherwise he's milking it every other weekend. So.
Milking it, I like that. Well done. Yeah, technically Keegan broke the law by bringing that lactose over, bro. So just over the lines. No, I think it's like super dope. The other thing I wanted to touch on as well, like the branding of this beer and the next one we're about to do is something pretty unique that you guys haven't really done before. Once again, we'll see some of the more traditional 4.0 branding in a few beers' time. But this is super dope. Obviously, me being a hip-hop dude, like this is really cool because Montreal is one of the things I always loved about it. It reminds me of my hometown of Melbourne, where Melbourne is big on graffiti, really, really big graffiti culture. And I know that Montreal has a very similar thing. There's like, obviously Mural Festival and just dope street graffiti. Like there's a lot of pieces and stuff everywhere, and I really appreciate that. And you guys captured that even with the portions of the Montreal city logo there with the hearts, if that's coming up on the screen. So there you go. With all those hearts, like I really just like that small touch. So you guys want to talk to us about what you've done with bringing in artists to do this?
Actually, this one is Jackie, the artist that does a lot of our beers. Our beer, her company name or her artist name is Mimosa, Art and Calligraphy.
Okay.
So she started off doing calligraphy, and then she ended up doing a lot of graphic design work, and she does quite a bit for us. Like she does almost all our stuff.
Right.
And like we kind of guide her into what we want, but she came up. She's like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" I'm like, "This is beautiful. I love this. let's do it." And but yeah, we wanted to capture the graffiti kind of culture, I guess, in Montreal. There's like everywhere you look, there's graffiti. But we wanted to bring it back to the art aspect of kind of graffiti. That graffiti artists are artists too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of bad stuff out there that doesn't look that nice, but there's a lot of really nice murals in Montreal.
Yeah.
And we absolutely love that aspect. Like you get to look at these awesome free art pieces of art that people had put on walls that otherwise would not look, that great. I absolutely love that aspect of Montreal, that there's art on the street, so we kind of wanted to bring that also to the beer scene. And it looks phenomenal. Like I love the colors. I love what she did with the lettering too. There's a couple of actual, like, she's not a graffiti artist, right? So she tried to do as good as you'll see on the next label on Montreal State of Mind. We used Style Over Status, which is a graffiti kind of like crew, and they do a lot of mural art. They do labels too. But you'll a lot of actual graffiti artists are like, oh, the letters are not like too graffiti,
on this?
But on this one. But she did a pretty good job, and we really like it. It kind of because it's hard to kind of show the numbers and the letters and have people read it on a label at the same time. Like you don't want it illegible.
Yeah.
Right.
So for people who don't know, the 514 is the Montreal area code, but
right.
The beer is actually called La 514 and not Montreal 514, but we get
haters
both
gonna
now,
hate.
so, yeah.
No, it's dope.
Is she the same person who does the chalk work on your?
Yes, she does the chalk. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. She spends an incredible amount of hours on our chalkboards. So our menu at the tap room, if you haven't been, every single board has Jackie's artwork done on 2x2 chalkboards. So you could
and it's like
by everything's by hand. Yeah,
like we can't ignore this. We got to chalk it up to what it is.
If you guys watch the first episode, you will remember Mike's pun game. I always forget about it. It hasn't skipped a beat at all. It's impressive. No, it's cool, man. I like that, and bringing that through, like the same person through doing your boards to doing the cans, and then going as we get into the next one to getting into actual graph dudes, which is cool. Yeah. It's just nice for a change. It's cool to see, because to me, when I think of Montreal, this is like when I first moved here. I was more like there's not really as much of a hip hop scene as there used to be, but like people used to always be wearing shit like this, and I'm sure back in the day they were like really heavy repping Montreal with like graph type designs on local clothing and stuff. So this feels like super authentic.
I mean, you come to our tap room like I mean, maybe not during COVID, but when we were working there, and like up till very recently, it's always been 90s hip hop that was playing in the tap room.
Yeah.
We're all 90s kids, and we have a soft spot for the 90s, so
I respect it. You guys,
because everything's shit now. So
I always try not to like be that like old head hating everything that's new. Like there is some good stuff. I just feel like it's like you have to dig for it more.
Search for it more.
Yeah. I just try not to be, because I was the angriest old rap fan for the longest time, and I've tried to sort of like soften up a bit and be like, all right, the kids kind of have some shit. Like, all right, it's not as overall. Who knows if it's gonna last like our music has. But, we shall see. You guys are... I don't know if we've ever talked about it. You guys are hip-hop heads, then. Is that where this came from?
Kind of.
Okay.
We love hip-hop. But it came more from, like, wanting to just put graffiti on a can.
Right.
It's like, why don't I take that cool art and put it on a can?
Okay.
And it's surprisingly not happening a lot.
No,
like, you'd think it would be like happening everywhere, and it isn't. So why not?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
we'll have a whole series. Sorry,
we'll
have a whole series of graffiti artwork that comes out mainly on our Hazy line, our New England line. Like the more we go deeper into the discovering like the hazies and the New Englands, the more graffiti artwork you'll see.
Maybe one day a milkshake IPA, but probably not.
I'm gonna hold my breath.
Besides the one you already did?
Okay, I said we weren't going to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
I'm really happy to see that Mike has joined Team Lactose officially, so welcome. I'll send out your membership kit.
The box.
I'm really curious to what that is.
Right? Fuck, I'll think about it. We actually have follow us on Twitter at Team Lactose. We actually have that there, so and right now we're focused on pumpkins. So once we have a pumpkin lactose, oh, there he is. Like, and we're done. What was I gonna say? Oh, before, like you're saying, why haven't many people done graffiti? I found as a dude, like I'm primarily a rap guy who has a beer podcast. There's hardly anybody into hip hop and beer. I never find anybody into it. It's so rare. So I just feel like, dude, it's incredibly rare. It's only in the States, really. Here is few and far between. I just find that it's usually metal. Everything is metal and stuff.
Metal.
I mean, obviously, as we know, we've talked about, people know that's mostly a white industry, so that skews towards, hard rock, metal type of stuff as opposed to hip hop music. So, like in LA, there was a bunch. Obviously, there's stuff like Monkish and like whatever, who's all their like beers are named after rap lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love Monkish.
Yeah, the killer, man. But like,
I think he has Biggie on one of those cans. He actually put like a mural kind of looking artwork on one of his cans. Yeah, it looks awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised. They usually have it's a little cleaner. Oh, we lost Mike. He'll probably come back and say. Yeah, I feel like their names are sick because they pull it from like obscure Raekwon lyrics and shit like that. But there he is. But they do definitely. That's all right, man.
Can you see that?
Hold it up a little. Oh, there you go. Team Lactose.
Team Lactose.
Mate, it's not really totally clear though. We got a full. There you go. We got like a cartoon face of me and Nate with our heads on a cow's body.
Oh man.
How do I get the split? I see all of you. I just see Greg right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual video that YouTube is seeing. So what I usually recommend is that you put the YouTube video just go to youtube.com/BAOS podcast and mute it, and you can pull up the live video so you can see that running in the background. So it's a little bit delayed. It's probably 10 seconds, 15 seconds delayed, but at least you can see what I'm looking at.
That's weird because I see all three of you, and every time I get on, I always see everyone.
Let me check Skype. I never look at the Skype. I can see all three of you on Skype. It's not in the same view I've got, but it's similar-ish. So it could even just be your Skype settings too, whatever's more comfortable.
Hey.
The other thing I wanted to ask about was the first. I swear, because back when we first did the interview, I was a little probably more obsessed with getting Haze into Montreal or in Quebec because I felt like no one here was doing it until the last year and a half. And I have a feeling that you guys were not super keen on doing it. You had a bit more of a different MO. And I think the first one I had from you guys I was extremely impressed with. I think it was called Tandem, which was your collab with L'Abordage. Is that the name?
Yeah, I love that beer.
Yeah, man, you guys really killed that. Noah made sure I got a can of that, and that shit was fantastic. And then, is this the second... La Second Cat, is this the second Hazy?
The Masorum one was before that.
Oh, I had that too. Yeah, that one was sick.
I have to say yes that for the style like of Tandem, that's Sanka Cat. Well, the thing is, like, we have a different thing, like being packaged for distribution versus like a pilot being brewed for the tap room. So it's not the next iteration. It went through a few, but definitely having done Tandem with Cedric and his wife at Abordage, we loved it. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved that beer. It was like
really good.
It was basically proof that like a pale ale that was juicy, that was drinkable, could be well received on a mass scale.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, oh shit, like haze and traditional pale ales, like why aren't there more hybrids of this? And it just kind of opened up Pandora's box for us.
Right. So I mean, like it was cool. That one kind of, I was like, yo, I didn't really understand. I was like, what the fuck? I really never expected you guys to do it because you seem pretty like confident in your direction and that like, now fuck lactose and fuck the haze.
We still say fuck lactose.
Except for the milkshake and nightmare, but we won't talk about this. No, but like
and caffeine.
And caffeine, that's true, which is a great beer. I guess I mean I'm absolutely exaggerating, but I mean like it definitely was a surprise when Noah told me like, yo, you have to try this, and it was that beer that inspired me to. We had L'Abordage on earlier this year. We had a new we started doing seasons, and everything would change with BAOS, and then COVID came and ruined everything. So the last podcast we did in person was with Cedric at L'Abordage. I was really impressed with everything that they were doing. So seeing what you guys did with them. Yeah, man, it was a really cool place. Food was amazing. The vibe was great. So I was really happy to see that because I was like, okay, this is great. I know that even though maybe it's not your complete cup of tea, no pun intended with regard to your tea beers. Not as good a pun as you. I'm trying. It was great to see like, oh, you can do it and like knock it out the park. So this one, I was really happy when I saw that you dropped this, and the one that we're about to crack as well. I'm really excited to try that. So, like, what really motivated the sort of, maybe, I wouldn't quite call it a change of heart, but maybe that slight, not even a pivot, but just sort of like, yeah, let's give it a crack. Like, what happened there?
So, I'll take this. I'll just put my thoughts. I'll let Keegan take it from there. But I think, it's like, why did we wait 2.5 years to release a New England IPA? Because like when we opened, that wasn't a new style. I think it was because we saw what was happening in the market. We saw that, like, being very blunt, we saw that like judgment, like the hammer was coming down on a certain style of beer, right? And like, why would we release something for the first time on a scale that would end up at retailers and grocery stores that wasn't tried and tested, that would automatically, no matter what we did, have a hammer dropped on it.
Right.
So it was like, I think we took the time to really get to know like our different yeasts, our different malt combinations, like what's our base malt, and more specifically, like what's our base malt blend, and like how does that affect body, mouthfeel, and all this stuff. And then finally, like hops, right? You have traditional hopping regimens. You have a couple of things that we did, like piece of equipment that we have, like a hop pack that not every brewery has, which is giving us cool beers originally, like Ubom. And now we have all this new hopping regime, which is like active ferment, like giant hop stands and utilization, and who's not utilizing, and blah 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 blah. And I think we felt confident 2 years, essentially, like we were building this up to our anniversary, which was supposed to be on April 16th of this year, and we were gonna do a big thing, and then about COVID, right? So I think it was a matter of time of like we didn't want to flood the market with something that was below the bar. That's pretty much what it is.
It's an interesting way to put it, in the sense of, it seems that I don't know how to say this without being blunt. It seems that every other or most other breweries that are doing in New England are essentially putting themselves at that risk and letting that hammer drop after 3 to 4 to 5 weeks on the shelf. So it's kind of awesome that you guys are really putting in the effort for that not to happen for the consumer. So with that said, what do you think that your hazy beers will be okay for several months, or like you must still have some form of shelf life on your IPAs, I assume?
Yeah, so obviously for us, this is, like I said, we've implemented a lot of tasting panels and sensory analysis.
Right.
what I can say with confidence, but not necessarily like
certainty
at this moment in time, because this is new for us, right? Is that and like I like welcome any brewers that are listening to like contests like Chapter and challenge this, but I truly believe that this dynamic of unattenuated beer, so basically beer that has residual sugar purposely with large hop combinations, has a way of spoiling quicker, in the sense that think of where IPAs have come from. Like think of where we were like 10 years ago, where the best IPA like was basically red, right? And it was like super malty. It was
bitter.
Like crushingly bitter. And it had like a nice little citrus, like la la in the nose, whatever. It was nice that day, you know. But like when you think about it, what were these beers 3 months later? It was like a cesspool of caramel malt.
Yep.
And I'm like, today, sure, we've stripped the caramel malt, but you purposely decided to ferment this beer to a point where it could have gone further. So you purposely left sugar in. You didn't add lactose, but you decided to have like that. So I don't know. You know, I think it's clear what I'm saying, but I think we're experimenting on the other end, where it's like, what about if we keep a mediocre amount of residuals and like actually utilize all these processed sugars and starches from the conversion in the mash and everything. And then, you know what, maybe we have a drier product. Maybe you guys are disappointed that it's not more, but like you don't realize that you're disappointed in a 6-month-old product, where last week you were disappointed in a 2-month-old, you know?
Yep.
So, like,
drops the mic and he's out.
He's like, fuck this, and we're done here. So, are you guys then?
That's why you gotta start playing with Brett if you ever can.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a whole other thing.
What's that?
It'd be awesome if you started playing with Brett, because like what Pat at Sutton has managed to do with Brett is like a whole other world.
He makes some really cool stuff. The problem with Brett is that it kind of will get into your system, and like it could infect your system. So you almost have to be super careful. I think I saw Le Castor has this set up, is they have a separate brewery for their Brett beers. I think that's the only way to do it.
Bench has that too. Bench in Niagara, they have a whole set, a funk side and a clean side.
Yeah, it doesn't. What's Bench? Does it not Bench? Vermont House of Fermentation.
It's a separate like space. I don't even know where they brew. It's not at Foam.
Right.
Like Foam just has Foam has like their tanks there, and they're really small. So I feel like they have to brew somewhere else. I haven't interviewed them before, so I'm not really familiar with it. But the House of Fermentology definitely brews somewhere else though. It's a whole other game. But yeah, it sort of makes more sense. So then with that said, so Mike, from what I kind of was just taking from what you were saying, then it almost seems like IPAs traditionally just have a short sell. Oh, we're doing this one? Can you grab the Montreal stuff in mine? I've been waiting because I'm sharing mine, so I'm drinking faster than you guys, so I didn't want to like force you into it.
I need to go get it. It's in my fridge.
Yeah, go grab it, bro. So like
I don't have
have it handy. So like
I've been doing this.
Hey,
cooler.
That's the move. Like Mike, you were saying that like thank you, brother. That if you think of like a what do you call the West Coast IPAs, which we'll get to after all this, and they can after a few months they're like you said a sticky sort of kind of gross mess. These beers are a sticky gross mess after a few months, so it's almost like it's just a different kind of sticky gross mess, really.
Hold up, I just want to add that I didn't if that was unclear, I didn't mean to say West Coast. I probably meant to say what was East Coast, but no one talked about it. I just meant I fucking hate the caramel thing.
Okay, is that like the British?
Forever and time.
Like the British style?
I'm with you on the caramel, Mike. It had its time and place, but I've moved on.
Is that like the British style? When you're saying all the caramel, I just assume you were talking about West Coast, not British style.
So I don't want to like talk about anyone in particular.
Okay.
Name drop,
of course.
But get a name drop. So like, let's say Brasseur de Montréal.
Okay.
Their beer Amer or Amer, whatever.
Yeah.
Docker? It's not Docker.
And then Docker. So just that's a great example.
Yes.
It's so good.
Well, I feel like the IPA has gone through so many subtle changes and has evolved so insanely quickly that sometimes it's hard to classify anything or even talk about like a time and place, because I feel like also regionally things change so quick. Like I feel like Ontario had this like caramel pale ale for
forever.
That was like their staple thing. But like when IPAs first started getting popular in Quebec, it was that like really dark red profile with that really piney bitterness. But then people were talking about West Coast IPAs, so like I don't know, like Pliny kind of that beer's not caramelly, or maybe more caramelly than what we're drinking now, but not that caramelliness that I think me and Mike are talking about, if that makes sense. Like, would you consider Pliny a caramelly beer?
No,
right?
no.
No, and actually, like we're not tasting it, I think today, but
yeah, we are. What are you talking about? Yeah, we are. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? We're fucking talking about.
Okay, sorry. So like we're gonna just see like we'll talk about it after, but like no, it's West. I wouldn't say West Coast and caramel. Okay, sorry, it's not true. Look at someone like Lagunitas.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good example where their original IPA had some or even like, you know what, fuck it. Dogfish 60 minutes.
Okay.
When it all started, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one can say that beer didn't change the industry. Like, when Sam came out and he was like, oh, check it. Not only did I stand there on my shitty homebrew system at the time and like just drop one pellet every minute with my hands to get a real 60-minute IPA, but it was a standard grain bill. It was 2-row, it was Cara 60 and some other specialty malts.
Right.
And it was whatever. And you know what? It worked, and it went and it sold. But there wasn't the competition there is today. And that's I really hope, like, I'm not condescending, but like if there are brewers listening, like seriously understand that like the production date you put on your can means something, and that you're sending it out into a different world today.
Yeah.
And that shit is sitting next to 100,000 other fucking products. And like, have you tested that that's gonna last? Like, is it, you're selling it as one thing. You might write a description, you might say Amarillo, Centennial, Citra, but like 3 months later, you get any Citra. And that's the frustration here,
I feel like these beers are not meant to last 3 months, though. That's the only thing I would push back on.
Then make less of it.
If I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. Make less and make them more often. Yeah. Sorry, Keegan, I cut you off, brother.
Yeah.
No, I mean the barcoding under the cans
Yeah.
is where I think like the brewing world should be going towards.
Everyone should have it.
Yeah, quality control is definitely something with all the breweries coming out. Definitely more and more important as we go, and I think the rules are going to get a little bit more strict as we go. Also, with like the federal government, they just put like a traceability law into action now. So every actor along the line is kind of responsible for making sure that if anything is wrong with your product, this goes for like alcohol to like bread, that you're able to trace where it is and send it back immediately.
Yeah.
And alcohol is a little bit more lax, but I think they're going to bring down the hammer very soon.
Good.
Right.
No, it's good. And this is October 6th. So this is, I was going to say 3 weeks old. Sitting great.
Yeah.
7%. Yeah. What are the hops in this one, fellas?
So this one is
Citra Amarillo.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the Citra name mentioned.
I have a question, but it's not necessarily a For Origins question, but just a general question. Stone did that bold and kind of awesome thing of creating a beer called Best Before.
No, Enjoy By. Enjoy By.
Yeah, it's Enjoy By. Sorry.
Yeah.
Or they had Drink After. Enjoy After. Enjoy By or Enjoy After. Yeah.
Enjoy By.
There was two. There was one that were like, I don't know why they would sell them and then like don't drink it until this. But the IPAs were the Enjoy By. Yeah.
But that almost predated the New England thing, or at least on the scale that it is now. It's interesting though that breweries don't bother putting any like, I mean, you see the keep cold, drink fresh sometimes, but you'd think that with the fact that these beers, most of the time, New England style beers or IPAs in general, let's say, fade so quickly that they don't breweries don't put more bold statements on their products. I'm just curious.
I mean,
anyone
it's pretty obvious. It's a very selfish reason why that doesn't happen. It's because you'd hesitate.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was when we were doing a bunch of the Vermont podcasts. I don't know if I should name names, but there's one of the biggest, most popular breweries in Vermont. Still to this day, doesn't put date codes on their cans, and a lot of people just like are really mad at them about it. And I agree. Like, there's nothing more annoying than, particularly in a store. If you're going to the brewery, you can just ask or whatever. But if you're in a store, like a dépanneur, like here type of thing, and you don't know when the beer is made, and if it's a red ale or something or stout, it doesn't matter as much as something like this. So I think it almost should be mandatory.
I mean, it still does.
It still does. Oh, it still does, but not to the same degree as like a beer like this, I guess is what I mean.
I just think the market's moving too fast, and this goes back to like this is exactly why we waited to make a New England. Exactly why.
So when you're saying it's moving too fast, you mean that too many people are doing it and the dépanneurs are selling it, but they don't understand it?
Oh, no one understands it. Even the breweries don't understand it.
Can you expand?
Sorry, okay. I think I'm just dropping huge statements here.
Yeah.
So,
like nonchalantly.
Okay. So imagine this situation, right, where you're the microbrewery and you've decided to ride the haze craze, okay? And you've made a decision to start with X grain bill. And by grain bill, I mean you decide to start with base malts, specialty malts, and then you kind of temporarily lock that in and be like, I think that this will support different combinations of hops. Okay? And you already have in mind that you're like, I'm going to release 5 to 10 beers, okay, without lifting a finger on my malt bills, right? And I'm going to rotate them differently, right? And then I'm going to say Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic. And then I'm going to go AX, Simcoe, Big Secret. And then I'm going to go Amarillo, Big Secret, and we get the point, okay? So I think that breweries take for granted the fact that with this whole new haze craze, active fermentation, hop creep, and the fact that hops are actually breaking down like enzymes into convertible sugars and then fermenting them, right? You can't just switch hops with the same malt bills anymore and expect that you're going to get a beer with a different aroma, Like the interactions now are getting more complicated. Traditionally, like breweries used to add hops after the yeast was already pulled and the beer was cold, with the sole intention of adding a nice little aromatic. And I mean, even before that, it was all about preservatives, right? So like today we're adding it as early as freaking possible in the process so that the yeast can jump on the hops, okay? But the yeast is converting hop materials into alcohol and flavor compounds, right? And in doing so, those compounds are interacting with the malt compounds that have been converted to sugars in the mash from starches. And there's this whole orgy in the fermenter happening, right? But every time a new partner comes in, right, the experience is going to be different. You can't just switch out a hop and say it's the same. And if you don't acknowledge that, you're not learning anything, and you're just telling the consumer that the different tastes in the end product are because a hop was introduced that they either like or don't like. And it's not giving a good perception to like why people like or dislike products. Like if I like the Citra Simcoe Vic combination, that's fantastic. But first of all, like which hop took the main position there? That's number one. You're just listing 3 hops, but which you definitely did not do 33, 33, 33 every time. So like, give me the breakdown. A, B, like you didn't change your base, which means that if there's a hop from New Zealand versus Europe or the US, there's going to be a completely different interaction going on here, and it might affect the actual taste perception, not of the bitterness, citrus, tropical, but of the actual full-bodied versus thin experience. And that's the hops. That's just the hops doing that. And I feel like this is a huge oversight in the industry. And anyways, you can tell that's a little frustrating to me, but like I need to just stop talking for a second.
It's a sore point.
No,
my dog is taking up a lot of space.
It's very
mentioned.
It's cute. Don't worry.
That you were. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. Well, if I just say the word hypa, is that something you can talk about with what you're doing?
I mean, you know what? I don't know the guy's.
No, it's more like something that you. Sorry, I wasn't suggesting that you were criticizing hypa. What I was saying is, you had mentioned that you might want to do some kind of different hop combinations.
Oh, like base, like in a similar motion to the hypa.
So how would you? Would that mean that every time you do a different hop combination, that you guys have to like go back to the drawing board and start from scratch to a certain degree with your malts?
No, I think that like. I think that, I mean, it's a little different for us because it's another reason why we're not flooding the market with 50 New Englands a year, like, or whatever you want to call it, DDH, triple, quadruple, Belgian / Saison, dry hop with an enzyme, you know, like it could go on. But like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, I can't take away. If I'm changing more than one additive, more than one piece of the giant puzzle at a time, how do I get a conclusion? And I think that if you're going to go down, okay, so this isn't a selfish statement. There's a public opinion and a brewer's learning that need to be taken into account here. I think it's a brewer's responsibility. You don't have to disclose any malt bills. That makes no sense. But I think that instead of just saying 3 hops are in a beer, I think we should move towards a marketing tactic that more clearly defines who's the star in this product. So if you're going to add 3 hops, I'm telling you, the chances of it being evenly split ways is going to be low. So if I have a 50, 25, 25 split, then just indicate which of those 3 hops is there. That way when that person has that product and they're like, ooh, I love this, or hey, not the best, they don't attribute it to A, the brewery, and B, they don't attribute it to like that just being a floppy beer. Maybe they can attribute it to their own palate, saying like, hey, you know what I learned? I'm not the biggest fan of Simcoe.
Yeah, it would be almost interesting if, because obviously I think one of the reasons why they keep it simple is because, you know, the average drinker, even the average kind of person just dabbling in craft beer who just wants everything Misorum or whatever, right? Like they're getting kind of like somewhat interested in the names of the hops or whatever. So by keeping it simple and be like, oh, I like this. But it would be interesting to have like the marketing at the top just say what the things are, but then have a more robust explanation somewhere else, whether on the back of the can or whether on a website or something, so someone can dive into that like you're suggesting and take a more granular look at the details, because I'd appreciate that, right? Because I have a lot of people who are like, I hate freaking Sabro or fuck Big Secret or whatever, or like Citra all day every day, but you know, maybe you're right. Maybe the beers that they thought they didn't like because of that hop wasn't the hop itself, but how it interacted with the other hop, because it was only like 30% as opposed to what you presumed being 50, or the grain bill or whatever, and how that ended affected, you know, the overall brew.
Can ingredients should follow the Star Wars intro font, right? Where you have the stars at the top, and then like either the underdog or the shitty ingredients at the bottom. And it's like big to small, and then because at the time you get to the bottom, you don't. You're like your eyes hurt, you're tired, and then it's like, okay, well if I didn't get to you, then you're not important. And then it should just work like that. Some kind of system that's super clear.
So the point of what you're saying really is that, because we were sort of talking about this from a perspective of both the depths and the consumer and brewers, like understanding with, I guess, you know, for example, New England IPAs. If that's the main pain point that you think, is that just like is it a transparency thing? Is it a consumer understanding issue? Like what do you think, if people move to this or breweries move to this model, what do you think that would solve with regard to New England?
Okay, I'm only going to make one more comment because I've clearly like completely stolen the rant here.
No, it's okay, bro. This is fun.
That's why we're here, man.
I think the point of what I'm saying is that we need to slow down.
Okay. What's moving too fast?
Well, maybe not slow down, but pay more attention to quality control. Like have more quality control processes in place that protect the beer and protect the consumer at the end of the day.
Okay. And educate the consumer. Keegan's totally right, but my main thing is that, like, I swear to God, man, there could be people that spend $200 a week on beer, and that they could not define to me the difference between Citra and Amarillo.
So is that pisses you off? I'm just curious. Yeah. I'm not being a smartass at any shape or form. I'm just curious because like I want to get to the crux of what you're saying here, because I think there's a good point here. So it's really, you want the people to understand what they're drinking. You want people to always understand what they're drinking, and you want them to be able to learn through what they're drinking. Because if I know that this beer is 50% X hop and 25, well then really if I like it, then this hop is for me type of thing. You really want people to understand it, and not therefore, if they don't like it, then go, that brewer fucked up and brewed a shit beer. Is that kind of...
I have I have a very unbiased end goal here. And I just don't want consumers to spend $6 on 473 mLs of beer and be disappointed for a very, very small change in the systematic way that we all work together could be changed. Like, it makes no sense, the ratio of disappointment in the industry. Like, I'm sorry, like, maybe that's me overstepping, but I challenge anyone to tell me that a ratio of even close to 1-on-2 beers on the market are awesome.
And I think that's actually quite a fair point, that not everything that makes it out there is excellent. So do you think that this method of being more transparent will help fix that? I think I might have missed it.
My point is that I want to help bring people
to
the beer that they were meant to enjoy.
Right, and that comes through education and transparency of what's in every beer.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm on board with that. No, I like it. I think that's a really good thing. This was a great beer. So if this is any indication where you guys are going with the haze, I'm very curious. I don't know if you can speak to it, but I imagine we should expect more haze from you guys coming down the line.
Yes.
I like that. Straightforward, to the point. No.
Are you going to tell me the percentages of hops though?
You know what?
I think so. I think we have no choice now. Mike
put it out there. I want to actually parlay that into something super positive that you guys did. If people remember the last time we did the last couple of videos, we did one with you guys where we talked about you guys created a seal of independent beer for Quebec, which Mike is showing us right now on the can. Now
that's actually the updated seal by the association.
Yes,
so
but something
we came up with this one.
Yes,
this is
that's
the one we did, and then they came up with. Well, they hired a firm. The Canadian Association hired a firm to kind of like redo it, which whatever. I think it's really. I like this one too.
Right.
I like both.
So what I agree, they're both sort of cool in their own right. I wanted to basically position you guys as trendsetters because we had a chat and we talked about the seal, and then I got hit up by Steve and Fred, who were in the middle of doing the Canadian thing, and then they seemed to be a little upset with you guys, but then you guys all connected. They wanted to talk and say their side, and I was like, what the fuck did I got myself into? Then you guys all connected on some, like, because I was cool, right? We've been cool for years, so I love that you guys came to me to broadcast that message. I was super stoked about it, and I was like, this is cool. I didn't know
that was great.
The politics of all this stuff, and I don't even know if you guys knew the politics. So then the other...
So much politics.
You say there are no politics?
There's so much politics.
So much politics. Okay, so then when Steve and Fred were respectful, you guys were even there. I can't remember why we ended up not connecting on that day, but I remember seeing you guys when we did that interview because they wanted to talk about it. I'm like, all right, cool. Point being...
That was at Mondial, right?
At Mondial, exactly right. So I remember seeing you guys and Braden, as in, like, I really liked that because it was like they wanted to talk because they happened to be here. Or Fred came from fucking Charlevoix to meet and do it. And I was like, this must be some serious shit because Fred came down from there. Steve came down from Van Cleek Hill to do it. So I'm like, all right, this is some serious shit. But my point is that you guys essentially, I would say from what it looks like, you guys could have made them kind of get off their ass and move a little faster to get their logo ready for this national seal, which has been fulfilled. That was probably 2018 summer, and then I think end of last year or something like that. End of summer last year, then the federation came. I think that's when they brought that one in. So you guys definitely like have to have played some sort of a part in that with your initiative
for sure.
and getting them to move their shit. Like, oh man, we've been working on it for a while. This is something that now they're like, fuck, this other brewery went and did it off their own back, and then you ended up sort of forcing their hand and made them move faster. Point being, if you guys start the trend now that you've already done it before, of that transparency of what's in the can, which I really like, even now hearing sort of flesh that out, those thoughts out, so it's sort of pushing you to just to hear more where you were going. I love that idea. I would love, as someone who's writing about the beers, like even right now, I don't believe the hops are even on here. I would love to know exactly what percentage of what hops are in this beer. Even my little, I'm no Noah Forrest, right? Like I just write real quick things for my reviews. I'm going to do these later because I want to think about it and not do all 6 of them tonight because I haven't had any of the beers. I would love to see that on the can. And if you guys start doing it, just like you started the seal, you never know what you guys can change, because I feel like you guys are some trend-setting motherfuckers, man, and I think it's really cool what you already did with that. So I just wanted, that was like me giving you a lot of props for that, and I think you could start something with the next one.
I'm going to let Keegan speak to that mainly. I just wanted to say that it was always a strategy to make those comments on this so that he would have to start listing the hops on the can. That was like a purposeful strategy on my end. But
it worked once before. It worked once before, Mike. It worked once before. Tiff was just saying, sorry, but just before Tiffany, you start. Yes, yeah, you just saw.
I see her writing. She's totally right.
Yeah.
Totally right. Wine does do that.
So just for people,
I think beer should do that. Mike, next label, do it.
Yeah. Tiff just said,
like Sangiovese grapes. Yeah.
Yep. Totally. Sorry, Keegan, just for the audio listeners, if they can't see it, Tiff says you find that with wine, they list the percentage of grape varietals, which really helps me with purchasing, because people.
Okay.
I think you guys are really onto something here. This is actually really. I didn't expect it to go this direction. This is great because she's right. When she's getting wine, she's like, all right, well, I know I don't like this, but I love this, and if they've only got this many percentage, you can see what that is, and you make a great point because I've seen people like, fuck Citra. So if it's like, 10% Citra, then it's like, I can probably deal with that because the other hops are the high. I love that. That needs to be standard. That's brilliant. Keegan, I'm sorry. Please, saw you.
No, you hit it right on the head. So my favorite wine is Petit from California. I don't want to go too deep into the wine, but it's 50% Syrah and 50% Merlot, and I absolutely love that combination.
Nice.
But I guess to go deeper into that, it's not like maybe not to find what hop exactly you like, but find what combination of hops you like.
Yeah.
And at maybe what level. So if you have a mix of maybe Citra and Simcoe and you love that, you're probably going to love all the New Englands coming out with Citra and Simcoe. So that's pretty cool.
No, I love that.
Well, it's interesting to think about that for a second, because before the whole New England thing, I don't know how much people, or like at least unless you were a brewer or like an insanely hardcore fan, I don't know how much you thought about like specific hop varietals and stuff. But now that New England IPAs are taking up such a large percentage of the space, it's almost like created this whole new like detailed look at the beer, in the sense of, if you have I throw Mosorum out a lot just because they, at least for Montreal, are the ones that seem to pump out the most beer, and almost always New England. But it's like Galaxy Nelson or Simcoe Citra Mosaic or whatever, and so it's like it's become part of the vernacular, even for someone just starting to dabble a little bit. So it's almost like mirroring that wine thing, right, to a certain degree, because prior to that, no one, like, you could be a nut for imperial stouts, but you weren't really talking about what malts were going into it. You know what I mean? It was more like, oh, this one has more licoricey thing, this one's more chocolatey, but you weren't getting that level of detail. So it's almost like it's kind of funny, because it's almost like the New England thing is taking those components of wine and bringing it to beer, in the sense that you're getting that like you said, Keegan, the combination of flavors. And I'm guilty of the simplicity of it too, Mike. Like, and I think I need to do a better job of trying to understand what I like and what I don't like, because I tend to be like, oh, I like these combinations and then these combinations, but like maybe I do need to be diving into that a bit more.
But what you just said, and again, I'm just making an observation, and I'm going to shut up, but it's super interesting what you just said. Like, seriously, like, if I just take it back a step, you just said that you spoke specifically about New England, right?
Yeah.
And you use Mosorum as an example. But you could tell me how many of the products in the radar and the spectrum that you just described are termed and called on the labels New England IPA. Rather than dry hopped or double dry hopped India Pale Ale.
I got an answer from Mosorum for that question. We interviewed them earlier this year, and they said that, if you probably already know this because you guys are friends with them, but they said that to them, that is what an IPA is. in 2020, 2019, whatever. That is what an IPA is, so they don't need to. That's all they didn't actually talk necessarily about the labeling them, but what they're saying is that this is an IPA right now. So this is what we do.
That dynamic, right? Like the brewery, who's totally right. Like fuck tags. It doesn't make sense. Like the BJCP rules, they don't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
But then like take someone like Noah, right, who's been learning for years what a style is by definition, and then having him describe the products from that same brewery, which will ultimately be communicated, right? Whether or not he says it to an audience of non-brewers or brewers alike. And it's like, it's that communication of like, okay, everything's in New England, so why the hell are we making quadruple double IPAs and not calling them New Englands, you know? It's that same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like there's a real nomenclature problem with beer in general.
It's not consistent.
Yeah. No, and it's been like that. It's not just an IPA problem. It goes in other ways too. When you like, what's a quad? What's a freaking Belgian dark? You know what I mean? Like it's always been kind of wonky, I think, from the beginning.
Compared to wine,
across
especially.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, wine is like they're concentrating on the grapes and the combinations and the regions, not so much on the style. I don't know. I feel like this could be like a 3-hour conversation.
That's a good point, but yeah, you're right. It's deep.
It just goes back to the point of like forget naming the style. That's why I'm saying focus on the ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on that.
Yeah, but I think there's also
all coming back to that.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off, Mike, but you're right. It does come down to the ingredients. I really think that was a very, very strong point, and I really think I agree with you 100%. The ingredients need to be more clearly noted on beer. At the same token, say just IPAs, because they're the topic right now, and I feel like they're the style with the most differentiators. I want to know, if I pick up this beer, this says, you put any IPA, I know what this is. If this just said India Pale Ale, then I'm going to be confused and I would be hesitant to buy it, because if it says West Coast inspired, West Coast style IPA or something, I'd be like, oh cool, so it's going to be piney, probably a little maltier, maybe dank. So that's what I want. Boom. But I feel like, because then also there's the British style IPAs, and then blah, 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 whatever else it is. Yeah. And you could argue the same, like Noah was saying, this is a pastry stout, you have to say that, or this is a whatever. Like, all it really comes down to is consumer confidence. Like, I want to know what I am buying. Now, you are 100% right, the BJCP guidelines are somewhat wishy-washy now, and it's not like something that we all live by, but when I just want to know what the brewer was going for. That's really what it comes down to. And everyone's definition. Hopperation, which we're going to do shortly, that is you were telling me that it's a Pliny-inspired, now the new recipe. I'm very excited to try it, because Pliny is one of my favorite beers ever. And that's a West Coast style IPA. That's dope. I don't know if you say that. You know what I'm saying? But I like the idea of that type of thing. And I don't mind that it's subjective, because to make it all accurate is damn near impossible. There's so many, obviously tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of breweries around the world, that it's just not possible to make that consistent. But if I know that this was going for a New England IPA, so it's going to be hazy, it's going to be fruity, it's going to be no bitterness, it's going to be creamy, fantastic, that's what I feel like, and that's what I'm getting myself into. That's all I ask from breweries. And then to take your thing to the next step, if I knew that you had 50% Citra, 25% blah, 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 I'd be like, fuck yeah, that's dope. Now I even know what the flavor profile is in my head before I even take the can. And that's all you can ask for as a consumer, right? Is that sort of transparency.
Yeah, I just two quick things here. First of all, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I said that and it's not on our cans, right? What my point is that the reason that we took our time to make specific styles, whether it's a hazy pale ale or a New England, is because we're not doing right now, at least, that large rotation of a New England every week, right? And second, I want to make sure that this is clear, especially for any brewers listening, is that I'm not saying that a brewer should be as transparent as to say their percentage breakdown of hops, but more that if it's not 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, that I think it's better for everyone who's tasting and you as a brewer to put forward which hop is the star, to try to, again, narrow it down to that consumer taste.
I like that a lot.
That makes sense.
And
not to harp on what we were just talking about, but I find it extremely interesting. One thing about wine that I've had I'm not a wine nerd by any stretch. I understand that certain grapes have certain flavor profiles, and I that Shiraz and Cab Sauvignons are bolder, and then other grapes have a lighter profile or whatever, but I don't know a lot about it. But what I've always found as a drinker is that the wine scene is incredibly intimidating, because you walk in the SAQ and unless you're into wine, you automatically feel like an idiot, right? Like you don't know what grapes do what, you don't know any of it. You have to talk to the person, and then you can be like, well, I'm having lamb, what should I drink, or whatever, right? I feel like as just someone who enjoys red, it almost comes down to I enjoy red, or I don't enjoy red, I only enjoy white, and so it's you have to nerd out to get there. And what I find with beer's getting there to that degree, if not surpassing it now. But I feel like there's always been this accessibility with beer in its I'm not going to say simplicity, but its ability to be kind of just taken for what it is. And I'm just going to buy my beer and it's going to taste like beer or whatever. But we're obviously moving into that wine direction. So what I would love to see is some kind of and I guess we're kind of there, but some kind of marriage of those two, right? Because to your point, and I know you just clarified what you meant, Mike, but kind of to some of the things that you brought up, it would be nice just to have a story for the beer. You know what I mean? I think it's okay to call it a double dry hopped IPA, and then you read that, but then can you not look at the back and then read a paragraph? We're brewing this beer in the style of what's been called a New England. So it's juicy, it's got a hazy body, there's a creamier mouthfeel. We're doing 25% Amarillo and 75% Citra and blah blah, and you're gonna notice peaches and blah blah, and give this proper description, because that tends to be what they do with wines on the back, but do it in a way that's actually accessible for someone to read. So if you want to nerd out, read that, but if you want to just get the IPA because it says IPA on the front, then why not as well, and just kind of bridge that gap a little bit.
That's a good point.
It makes perfect sense. And actually, on a super small scale, where it's we're 6 people doing these tasting panels at the brewery, one of the biggest comments that Maya, who's in charge of our QC, made is at the end of the day, we're spending all this time, everyone's rating appearance, aromatics, taste, mouthfeel, and overall on 5, right? But they don't have that standard yet. We have that standard on the marketing end. We send it to clients when we sell the beer. This is what the smell is. This is the taste. This is the appearance. But we didn't integrate that at first into the tasting panel. And it's I'm asking the people who know the beer best to evaluate a product on a scale of 5. But they're evaluating it based on, at the end of the day, their own personal preferences, which is essentially untapped. And I'm that's not what a brewery should have. So right now we're putting into place, basically for every beer you review, you have a standard tasting sheet that depicts that beer. And then instead of being I think that it should be fruitier, but it's not as fruity, so 3.5, it's more what should it be according to the sell sheet? And then you rate it on that. And it's that's just one example of kind of the integratedness from the marketing and sale perspective all the way to where the brewers and anyone on the production team sits. And it all falls into that same mentality of where I want the industry to go, where we're all united in delivering a product to a consumer, because that's what we tried to brew.
Mm-hmm. It would be interesting for your tasting panel if you did both. You did what, judging by the sheet, what their, what it should be, but also what their preference is, because you could see some interesting results there, right? Because you could have you're like 6 of the 6 people thinks this should be brighter for some reason, yet all 6 also said that it meets the criteria. Hey, maybe we do need to make it brighter, or you do another test or something like that, because you could still kind of see what their thoughts on it on top of what, how it should be, quote unquote.
Exactly. So we have in a comment section basically being like, if your opinion differs from the agreed upon sales sheet, please put your comment here. And you know what? When we actually do that, like especially like I find the brewers, they rate more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's super interesting,
No, this is great. Which beer do we do next? The Blanche?
Sure, I'm good with that.
Or the Operation. I don't know. Keegan just dropped out. I'm sure he'll dial back in this side.
It's because you said Operation and he has kids now.
So he's like, oh. He's like, no. Should we do this?
I don't actually have Operation, so I can just wait on that one.
Okay.
Let's get on Operation. I think Blanche du Sud-Ouest would be good, and like I definitely want us, before it gets disastrous, to hit Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we'll get through it. No problems. Like, yeah. Even if you guys just have like a part of it, and then we move on to the next one to keep it moving.
Well, no, I know. I'm just fucking around. So we can do Blanche.
Okay, I'm gonna take a. Oh, actually no. Okay, Mike's gonna go get that. I was about to go take a piss, and I was gonna let Noah take it. No, you're right. You got it. Go for it. Get the beer. Get the beer. I'll talk to Noah. So Noah,
hey buddy, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you? Good to see your face. Come holding it down. Hey, man. Thank you for constantly. This is the second podcast in a row co-hosted. Tomorrow night we have another one.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's just fun. I really enjoy it.
I really appreciate your input. Keegan's back in the business. There he is. We're going the Blanche, brother. Oh, I can't hear you, man. I think
I can't hear you.
Oh.
There you go. Say that again.
You guys drained my phone of batteries.
Oh, look at that. You gotta plug that.
It'll do that.
Yeah, Skype is rough sometimes, eh?
So, are we trying another one? Or
yeah. We're gonna do Blanche first.
Okay.
Just because the operation might be a little intense, so I was gonna piss, but what I'm gonna do is pour this and then we'll do it. Dan, you got yours? Oh yeah, give that a wash, mate. You did? Oh, look at this guy, not messing around. This is a beer I've wanted to try for ages. I can't even I'm not huge on Blanches, but the body on this one, it just looks exactly. Oh, this is the OG. This is a cool idea. I love the label is dope. Is this a collab or this is not a collab?
It started as a collab.
Yeah.
With LaBrasse, that's what it was.
LaBrasse,
yeah. Okay.
So guys, do me a favor if you haven't poured it yet.
I haven't poured it.
Okay. Just do me a favor for this one because the yeast we use has a tendency to flock and settle really well in the can. So pour half the glass. And then give that can a good stir, and then pour the other half. Okay.
You want to get
so
to...
is
It brings me back to my Garden days when I was like it had the description on how to pour.
Yeah, I remember that.
The label. I love that. It's part of the experience,
I love it. I'm doing it over 2 glasses, so I'm splitting a bit.
Does poor Dan have to sit beside you and in complete silence?
Well, I got Tiff here. Tiff is right next to me as well.
Okay.
Tiff is drinking wine. Dan's over there, and I think he's. Are you listening to the podcast? Yeah. Yeah, he's got an earphone in. He's listening, and Tiff has her earphones in, and we've got the TV on here listening. So they're here. That's why she's able to comment because she's listening. And I'm schooling. So I don't think I told you, boys. So Tiff's cousin Dan moves from England to work with us in our agency, and he lives in our building.
Hey, Dan.
We say what up. And nice. Dan is I'm schooling him. He's helping me out. Cheers, brother. He's I got him on a blind taste testing video for the podcast. He co-hosts our other hip hop podcast that we have, and I'm teaching him about beer. So I was like, you know what? There's 6 beers tonight, Dan. I'm gonna need some help, mate. And he was like so kind to offer his help for that. He was what a guy.
Did you tell him that his career depends on his tasting results?
Yeah, no, I didn't tell him yet, but he's going to know that his employment is definitely based on his results here.
Oh yeah, he's listening, right?
Oh, he's listening. He's listening in the earphone, which is delayed. But I'm looking at him and telling him, he fucking knows, mate. If he fucks around, mate, it's over.
Oh, so in like 8 seconds, he's gonna shit himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're in a lot of trouble, Dan. A lot of trouble. So, Dan, I want all the tasting notes to a Blanche immediately written down via email, please. I want you to CC Michael and Keegan. Thank you.
You know what? Just don't give out my email, please.
Okay. I will forward it on via Messenger. Of course. What was I thinking, Michael? I apologize sincerely. Keegan, what
so, a quick little thing on this beer just before we get started, because it's a little bit different.
Okay.
So I always say this, I'm going to try to make it short and sweet as possible for me. But basically, definitely just, okay. White IPAs are bullshit. And like Hoffenweiss and fuck off kind of thing. Forget about that.
Okay.
The idea with this was to make a okay, let me be very transparent here. So hops and wit have a lot of similarities, and this was a collab with BAOS in the West, and the idea here was to say that let's kind of merge those two similar things, which was about haze, which was about being kind of more easy drinking, being aromatically positive, and all these things. So we tried to merge those two ideas, not to make a hoppy white or whatever the fucking a white IPA is, but really to make like a wit that people who hate hops could potentially kind of tone down their attitude towards the hops. And what we got as a result was super interesting because, and we're actually changing this recipe quite actively. So it's going to go through a couple of changes as it hits the market towards like more where we want. But
keep talking.
Because of the way that we dry hopped this and fermented it, you have this interesting like mix of like hop, grass, and floral that kind of merges with the phenolic fermentation aspects of a wit beer. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily everyone's thing, but Keegan can speak more of this, but like people really like the end profile of like an easy drinking, like it's not banana, it's not clove. It's kind of like a wit beer fermented hoppy white. Like he can take it from here.
But you nailed it on the head there. It's giving a white beer fruitiness and flavor, but through the hops. You know, and not necessarily through fruits, actual fruits. So I think it's just a different on the wit beer. You know, it's and it's tapping into the New England vibe that's kind of going on right now too. So yeah, I love this beer. It's super. It's kind of merging two really cool worlds. Like I've had a couple people come up to me and say like I don't like New England IPAs, but I love whites, and I love this beer. And I've had some other people say I love New England. I don't really drink whites, but I love this beer.
Who are these people who don't like New England? What's wrong with them?
It's surprising. There's a lot of people who don't like IPAs. They don't like don't like any type of bitterness in their beer. So even though New Englands are kind of less bitter, I guess, than
if at all,
more West Coast IPAs. But
I mean, lactose is bad for the environment. So.
Yeah, I heard, bro, it's devastating. Did you see Half Hours on Earth actually stopped using lactose in their beer? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to choke up. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
This is not an ignorant stance that I'm taking. It's a very well-educated, like, anti-lactose stance.
Yeah. He reads about lactose constantly. What I appreciate about this beer, well, there's a few things I appreciate about this beer. What I like about it off the bat is
it needs lactose,
the fact that we're not seeing any form of hoppy Belgian beers in general anymore. They're so I feel like with the rise of New Englands, which don't get me wrong, I very much enjoy. We're also seeing all kinds of other hop forward beers just kind of fall by the wayside. Like what happened to bread IPAs from 2 years ago? They're done.
Kill them.
Belgian IPAs
over.
If that's a thing or not a thing.
Boring.
No way, you just missed the wild check.
So I like that profile of there is something to be said about that phenolic Belgian thing and fruity hops. Like when they combine, there's like you said, this isn't particularly clove forward, but there is that spicy Belgian thing. And then when you combine that with the subtle, I'm not gonna say it's subtle hops, but it's not a blast of insane dry hop but it's there, and it's just that subtle combination, and I miss it and enjoy it, and there's something. This is very much a wit and not a cloyingly sweet Belgian IPA. It drinks more like a wit than it does an IPA. It's like a wit with a really nice dry hop to it. That's how I drink it.
Yeah. You're totally on the point. The goal of this was it's simply that. It was to take people who appreciate one style, but who unfortunately, because of everything we've talked about tonight, actually not really tonight, but prior to New England's and everything, this whole idea of hops has had a negative attachment or staple or whatever you want to call it, that bitterness, right? Which is one of the biggest turnoffs for a lot of non-craft beer drinkers, has always been I don't like beer. It's it's either because of a strong malt taste, or crazy stats that we read, 70% people, it's because of an astringent bitterness in the beer. Where it's and then somehow over the years before New England, kind of a negative thing about West Coast and all these things and all this nice grapefruit bitterness, that zest that we love, got affiliated to hops, and it never left. No matter how much New England's came about and everyone was tropical, New England's have no IBUs, it's nuts. And then people crazy people that no one likes add lactose to it, but it's nuts.
You're lucky you're pretty.
This whole, I know, I'm playing with fire. Don't worry about that. I'm willing to take the backlash here. But this stigma, Blanche du Sud-Ouest, it was made to try to eliminate some of the stigma that's associated with bittering hops, and try to tell people who like white beers, where it's you know what? How about we don't add coriander or orange peel, and we see what dry hopping a wheat yeast does.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's a super unique style, man. And this is the first time I've tried it, and I recall when it first came out, I was just checking on Untapped as we go, just because there's some different information on there as on the can, and there was this one. I imagine you've probably seen it, but there's this one woman on there who drank it, say, a year ago, and she was like, "This is amazing. I love this. It's 2 great breweries. It's fantastic." And then she's trying it. She's like, "I don't know. They've changed it. I don't like it anymore." And then she's posted 3 or 4 times just complaining about it. I was like, okay, so looking at the older photos, it looked more like a straight up milky haze, and this is more probably what you would describe as opaque. So did something change with the recipe? I wouldn't have even thought about it unless I just saw that lady. Her disappointment was quite entertaining to me. I don't know.
So but I'm gonna be completely honest here.
That's what I want. Let's go.
Completely honest.
Do it.
Do it.
I'm glad you didn't mention the person's name. No, I'm just joking. It's not that But
I'll
seriously,
screenshot and send it to you.
We haven't brewed this beer that often, all right? Actually, like we only realized recently that it was. Well, we had a great feeling about the idea, but we've had trouble because of various reasons to like time our seasonal releases properly since we opened, like since the beginning of the brewery. And Blanche du Sud-Ouest never got the chance to kind of take a spot. Like it was always like, oh, it's released in the tap room. Like, oh, we're sending cans to Transbrew, our distributor. Blah blah blah. It was never like Blanche du Sud-Ouest is available everywhere.
Right.
So all that to say that the batch that you guys are tasting, I'm pretty sure is like maximum the third batch.
Okay.
So depending on when she had it,
September.
Her inappreciation for this beer might have just been the fact that like the yeast continued to flock in the can.
Potentially, because the first check-in was like a July last year, and then there was a few more, and I didn't check. I imagine it would have been this year. These other ones. So
since the batch you're drinking,
yep,
there hasn't been anything since July last year.
Okay, so this is 20th of September. It said so. This is only like a month old.
Yeah.
This one. Okay, so it just you hadn't done it since, and it's just the yeast kind of changed a bit, but the flavor profile, the body, and everything is the same-ish.
Well, one of the things that's funny, so like that was my kind of first half of that there, but one of the things that we're working on with the change is actually to kind of keep that flock. We have a thing with the yeast that we're using for like our white beers,
okay.
Which is like favorable to certain recipes and unfavorable to others. That it has a tendency to. Sorry, I said flock before for everyone. Like that's got flocculate and it's like drop out. So
clarify.
We have like all these. We have all these hazy beers that are like keeping in suspension, and it's nice, like always haze. But like that's a factor of the ingredients the brewery is using in terms of malt and whatnot. But like the yeast that we're using for whites has the tendency to drop out clear regardless of what we're using. And for beers that use the same yeast, like Botanique, which is our gin-inspired white beer, it's like not as much of a critical aspect when it drops out as something like what you want to sell at New England wit beer. So one of the things we actually are working on, to be fully transparent, is to keep that haze. Because if we want to sell it as that style, to be fair and honest, and that I agree with that review, is you can't have something that's mediocrely clear / hazy, right? So.
Right. Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. I like it though, man. I think is this going to be a regular thing that you guys do, or is it just kind of come back, here and there?
Yes.
Keegan says yes.
Yo, I love Keegan's one-liners. It's just like boom,
boom.
So you right?
So Craig.
Yes. No.
You are an avid hater of wit beers, and this kind of bridges that gap a little bit. What do you think?
I'm not
honest opinion.
Yeah, honest opinion.
The brewers aren't here right now.
The brewers aren't here. No. So what I don't like about wit beers, I don't typically like a lot of Belgian. Typical Belgian beers. I don't like the cloves. I don't like the spices. I used to love it. I can't express how much I used to love it. And then I discovered real beer like New England IPAs and pastry stouts and,
Wow.
and lactose. I had to counteract your lactose call, bro. I had to come back at you on that one.
Yo, lactose sucks.
We're killing the whales, man.
Yeah, me and you need to have like a fight in like a swimming pool, but instead of a jelly fight, it's lactose, and we just wrestle.
You know what? Actually, I'm gonna invite some of my monk friends to just make a prayer for you because you have to be blessed. Like that's all.
But look, I don't really fuck with like wit or any sort of those type of beers too much, just because I don't like the spices. I don't like I just don't enjoy them. I realize over time I just don't enjoy them. But as you were saying, you guys have bridged the gap here. That's exactly a great way to put it, Noah. As far as this is a hopped version, you didn't, and Mike, you were saying before about you didn't have all those. The spices are they present at all, or are they just really muted? like the cloves and all that stuff.
Okay, hold on. Before I answer that, I want to know what you really think of the beer. And I don't mean
I
to
like
say
it.
that like. So no, hold on. Like, for real, because this is this beer, this idea, the marketing, the recipe is something we will hold true. But there are things about this product that we want to bring. We want to more align what we're going for versus what it is. And when you say spices, I just want to know, like, not in this beer, but in other beers, like, what are you referring to when you talk about spices?
So no one mentioned cloves. Clove is something I'm not big on in beer. I can imagine. Yeah, Keegan, jump in.
My kid's having a teething fit, and my wife needs some help. So I
no problems, man. Can I ask just for like 10 seconds? Can we get the thumbnail with you in it? Otherwise, you won't be in the thumbnail.
Oh shit! Okay.
So I was going to take a screenshot of the thing. I'm just going to hold up a couple of beers. Bless you. If anyone wants to hold anything up, shit, come on. And then I'll let you get the hell out of here, bro.
Yeah, teething is no joke, ready? Motherfuckers.
Crying like crazy.
Boom. Got it. Everyone's in here. I just wanted to make sure we saw that. Thank you, bro.
At back, kind of look like.
Wow, I feel like we're twins. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror. It's dangerous. Dude, beautiful. Thank you, man. Appreciate your time. This has been great. Good luck. I hope your kid's okay. And we'll talk soon.
Give him drugs. Lots of drugs.
Tempera and
Tempera it up.
So New England IPA. Yeah, a bit of operation on there, mate. Don't worry about it. Lactose helps, I hear. I don't know. So I don't know.
No. The worse.
All right. Yep. All right, brother. Take care.
All right, guys.
See you
thanks.
later.
No worries, man. Thank you. So
all
yeah,
right.
it's like those typical like sort of spices that you'd find in a Belgian beer. I don't particularly enjoy like Belgian strong ales or triples or doubles or quads.
Okay.
I love Flanders Reds now, so I love the Belgian sours. But
Seriously,
dude,
wow.
It's really strange. I'm like Rodenbach. I did a brunch with Rodenbach last year, or maybe it was more of a lunch, and they paired a bunch of the beers with that, and it's blown my mind to a point. I can't believe when I look in the mirror, I'm like, who are you? I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I love them so much. But yeah, it's very cool.
No, but you also enjoy, like, you joke about yawn beers or whatever, but you legit enjoy Lambic too. From
I fucking love Lambic.
Dislike Lambic.
Oh yeah, no. The yawn beers is just me giving you shit because you give me shit about lactose. That's all it is. So
I think
my understanding from you is more.
Wits, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think for not to put words into Craig's mouth, but I think
you could say it better than me.
With him is he doesn't like a phenolic profile, generally speaking. So like some saisons he likes. So like anything on the sour saison spectrum, he'll dig. If it's got like a dusty Brett phenolic thing, earthiness, he digs. But the second it goes into the like
banana,
wit, triple, even like doubles and quads, you're not really into. Once you get into that real phenolic, clovey, banana, cardamom, that kind of thing, right? If I'm making sense.
You're nailed it.
It makes sense. Like one of my best friends, actually, one of the investors in the brewery, Yanni, my roommate for 3 years, the guy who supported all the homebrew parties, that allowed me to like get a bunch of recipes out there to like random people and taste it. Probably one of the best noses that I've ever experienced, allowing me to be like, I could ask like Keegan about it and have like, yeah, what are you doing this? And like, I actually used the note that like just that aromatic thing for him. His brother lives in Seattle, San Francisco. He moved around. He actually, we'll talk about this. He's gonna come back in Nightmare, and if I hadn't met Yanni and his brother hadn't lived in the West Coast, Nightmare wouldn't exist as a beer, but that would come back.
Cool.
But it's that thing where he has such a despicable hatred for coriander and like a certain spice that it's like every traditional wit is like, no, like it's not even, he'll love sours, hoppy, everything, whatever it is, but like, we all have this thing where like we attribute it to like, it could be like fucking like going to move furniture in grandma's attic, you know, like it doesn't even matter what it is. Like, affiliations are a real thing in a century.
No, you're right.
Sure. And I think I'm just blessed with being able to, because I think we all instinctively have a flavor and either like that flavor or don't like that flavor or kind of neutral on it. But I think I have this ability of like over time developing a palate for, like, I remember when I first started getting into beer, I didn't dig the Belgian thing, and it sucked because I was in Quebec, and at the time almost everything was some form of triple Belgian pale ale, wit, whatever. That was like 99% of what was on the shelves.
Yeah.
And I went to Ontario and I fell in love with like English style ales and like golden ales and red ales and like imports from England through my father-in-law, and that's kind of what pushed me into beer. And then being here in Montreal, I was like, well, I'm just going to try these things. And then I like Jude Ciel is so responsible for so much of my like early like, oh, this is why it's so good kind of thing. And I remember trying Dernier Volonté before it changed, and it was just like the perfect like Abbey Belgian pale ale, and like the phenolic profile on that just kind of like opened the floodgates for me to start enjoying all of them, like Fins du Monde and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember what my original point was, but I think I'm just lucky in that I've been able to even though obviously like most people I tend to fall in love with what's trendy or whatever, I'm still able to go back and really enjoy the full spectrum without having like a particular thing that I don't like anymore.
Yeah.
But like guys, like I don't want to like just spin in a circle here, but holy shit, man! Like, is that not exactly the point? Like, you knew, because first of all, no, I completely understand. Like, BBC for me, like, very very few breweries, current or like we'll call them what do you call the people who've been around forever, like legacy breweries, right? Whether it's new or legacy. Obviously, there's been a couple of new beers I don't think are necessarily equal to the trend of the market, but in terms of their average output, it's automatically like, I'm gonna buy that beer, because like it's not about the style, the beer. It's like, I know that Jude Ciel is gonna come out with a quality product for a good price, and I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah. But
you would never have attributed our discussion to a specific product unless the style category was right? So we're talking about phenolic, Belgian, wit beers, whatever, but like, kind of like, let's take the skeleton of a conversation and apply it to the IPA market, and all of a sudden we're missing half of the puzzle pieces. Like, try to define to me, like, right, like you got to learn, we got to learn, like, we were tasting beers for like, it's been 10 years we've been tasting craft beer, right? And we've been able to be like, oh, well, I'll taste like Off Bal, like at FAQ, and I'll grab this product in the current market and whatever, and like I'll make all the dots, and I'll be like, holy shit, this is like a true to style Belgian triple, quadruple, whatever you want to call it. But like, there is no such thing as a true to style New England. I mean, in Quebec, maybe it's Boreal. Isn't that interesting? Like, I just find that whole thing, I don't know.
No,
I think it's moved so fast that like I don't even know anymore. Like, everything is in such a flux and it changes so quickly, because even that beer seems old now.
Which one?
Like
Boreal.
It's crazy, yeah.
Like it's a bit malty. Like, I'm not gonna say it's malty. It's a bit richer than like the trendier ones, which now are a little bit drier and harsher on the palate.
Yeah.
So like, it's moved so quick that seems almost like an old beer now.
Yeah, it is interesting how it all changes though. Like, I've been drinking as well since January 2011, doing the craft beer thing too, just not in the podcast form. So I've been doing it for a while, but it's like everybody you kind of go through your phases, and then but at the time back in the day, and I imagine it was the same because I was in Ontario back then, and then when I moved to Quebec, it was sort of like we discovered, like I remember my friend told me about West Veteran. He's like, yo, it's the best beer in the world, they have it at this cafe here. I'm like, what is it? And I looked it up. He's like, oh, it's crazy. And we paid $40 for a 330 ml and split it between two of us, and we were like, what the fuck is this? It was the most incredible thing I'd ever tasted in my life. So it's just like constantly blowing your mind back then, and there wasn't that like nothing was really trendy. I guess the closest thing was like palate wrecking bitter IPAs, right? And then as sort of time has gone, you are right now, because the world is in flux, beer is in flux, everything around us is changing. There's social media and there's this crazy politics shit going on, and like all this wild stuff. This world we're living in is flux, so it doesn't even really surprise me too much that beer is in the same realm as the rest of the world. So everyone's trying to figure it out. Mike, you're right that there is a BJCP New England, but there's no double New England. I was looking it up recently. It's by far expansive. It's very generic. So you're right. What's a New England in Quebec? Probably the L'Oreal, the first one. What is it in Ontario? I don't know, maybe the Bellwood stuff or something. Like, I don't know what came first, but it's such a strange thing, and there's so many, like, I guess you could like debate it forever because there's no real answers. So it's more just like what the breweries want to make. I always think, and I always say this a lot, whatever breweries are true to themselves, that's what makes them fire. If breweries try to do shit that they're only doing to stick to the market, then they start to lose themselves. So I always appreciate when breweries just be like, you know what? We only make Belgian beers, or we only make German fucking crispy boys. Like, that's all we do. And then they do it, and they do it well because they care. Every brewer I've ever seen do a style they had to do because people want it, but they don't care. It's always half-assed, and it's never fire. So
it's
yeah.
And like, I mean, when you say it like that, you make me think that it's even more obvious in the sense that, like, I went to Germany, Belgium, Amsterdam, and Czech Republic for 3 weeks, pretty much just to taste beer.
Nice.
And like that's not at all like a long time, but you go to each place. Like when I was in Germany, I was like, holy shit, these guys just know how to make beer. Like, no joke, you taste it, it's like, it's just liquid gold malt. Forget like, sure, hops are in there, but it's like the best tasting malt liquid you've ever had. And you go to Czech Republic, and it's different. It's a little more stringent, right? When you have like the original like Urkel, right? You have it, and it's like, this is the first Czech Pils, and I'm like, wow, clearly Czech Pils has been refined a bit because it has this German influence like taste with a hotness, but it's not necessarily the most balanced beer in the entire world. And then you go to Amsterdam, and you quickly get lost in the red light district, and you try to make your way to Belgium, right? Then you get to Belgium, and you're like, oh, I just came from Amsterdam, the Heineken factory tour, and they're like, Stella's the best. You're like, okay, I don't want to fight. Okay.
Yeah, no stuff.
And then you have, that's it. And you have Duvel, right? Or, as I was correctly told, Duvel, over there. Yeah. And like, I was completely consumed under the table because like I tried to keep up with the Belgian the first I was there for production. But you do a little trip out to West Veteran, and no joke, we had like 8, 10, 12 on draft.
How was that?
Like number 12 on, it was too sweet.
Okay. So are you saying that the bottle conditioning helps it a lot?
I'm saying that, and I'm trying to tie it in to everything I've been saying so that people aren't just like, Mike likes to rant.
I know, I love it.
I'm saying that time is everything depending on the style. The reason that West Veteran 12, when it gets to the SAQ or private import and into your hands at $50 a bottle, is worth $50 a bottle, is because regardless of the ship, plane, or there's no cars, but either of those that took it, it matured. And all of this original idea, the same thing as IPAs, man. I'm not going to talk to either of you of the history of IPA, but it's all the same shit. It was an overseas travel and a conditioned product. And everything that everyone cares about today is about fresh. So like, we're like completely moving as a beer drinking society from products that got better over time, like to make world renowned products. Like Westvleteren 12, for how many years? Like 2 decades was the best beer in the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the best beer in the world changes every year. Yeah. Like it's just an indicator. And like, anyways, I don't know. The monks did something right.
No,
well,
you're
right.
right.
I think it's also like speaks to how just the popularization of craft beer in general as well is what ends up making that new beer a year change thing, but it just happens so quickly. I prefer Rochefort to Westvleteren personally, and it's $3.50 a bottle at the SAQ.
Whole other world.
Rochefort 10 is unbelievable.
I agree.
I'd like to.
It's just, yeah. Go ahead.
That's right. I was just saying I'd like to try those again. I haven't had them for ages. I do remember. I don't know if you guys got a hand. So the 10 is fire. So I don't know if you guys obviously, I mean, Mike, you went there, but that's amazing already. Did you guys try the Westvleteren or Westvleteren, however you say it, in the bottle without the label, like with just the cap one?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing I bought actually. So when you have this beer on draft, right? And by the way, you have to take a bite to get to this place.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't drive there?
I mean, just for the sake of the live feed, I would say yes, but it's probably not. So we took a bite, and after a few pints of this beer, you probably should not bite back.
No.
Yes.
So I had somehow convinced myself that putting six packs on a bungee cord on the back of my bike would hold. Like, and we're not talking like 3 wide, 2 tall. We're talking 3 tall, 2 wide.
Okay. Didn't work?
So I had made an amazing deal in my head, being like, fuck, everyone at home's buying this beer for $50 a bottle, but I just bought a 6-pack for like 20 euros. You know, like, I'm going to make a fortune. So the equivalent of my cost for the reward actually got back to the hostel on the way. There was a lot of lost bottles. But yes, we got all unlabeled bottles, and they wouldn't give brewery tours at the time. It's not a craft brewery. It's literally a monastery that makes this for a living. It's not the same principle. But what's super cool is that they haven't upgraded most of their equipment, and they haven't changed recipes, and you honestly saw the monks there. I mean, they're not these guys in brown clothes, but like it's real people making beer for a religious / sustainable living, and they made for 20-25 years the best beer in the world, and I don't know, I was kind of in awe.
I can imagine.
I would be too. I mean, I was the only reason I got to try it was because of that short LCBO stint where they sold those 6-packs for.
And that's why I was, yes, that was $70. You had to line up. And Scott, my old co-host, he got a 6-pack, and he sort of surprised me with him when like a couple, like Christmas, whenever it was, 2015 or something. And that.
Probably even before that.
It could have even been earlier. I think you might be right. Maybe it's 2013 or 14, actually. And that was kind of my point, was that I'd had the original one that someone had probably smuggled in their suitcase and brought to Sarah's Cafe on the Danforth in Toronto, which is where I tried it the first few times.
Yeah.
And then Scott got this one, which that's why I was asking about the cap, because this one had a sticker on it, and it came in that pretty 6-pack with a glass.
Yeah, it was actually painted on, I think. But yes, that's the one I had.
So that one, that's great, actually. That beer was a shadow of the beer that I had at the cafe. It was not even close. Like I still even remember to this day. I remember I wrote in the thing. I think it was like 2 Belgian boys holding hands, running across my tongue. Like It was the most incredible flavor profile I'd ever experienced in a beer. Can you imagine that?
Always use that as an analogy when you're
going forward. It's like two mosaic hops holding hands running across my tongue.
Are you really surprised though? Like, but in all honesty, like Bonbon, right? Like our Belgian quad, which
which is a fucking awesome beer.
Yeah, but you know what? Like it literally took me about 3 years when I got back from Belgium to like do that on a homebrew scale.
Right.
That's not the type of beer that you can like. You're not going to test try that on the system more than once a year. So like, I was happy with our first try, but like I would never compare it to European quad, at least when it first came out. But then you tried a year later, and it's like, fuck, like all these beers, it's crazy. We're doing these testing of tastings and longevity, and it's like, oh, IPA 1, like not as good after 6 months. Wit, not as good after 8. And then you hit this Belgian quad, right? And it's like you get the 10, 11, 12 months, and it's the only style in your entire repertoire that actually is a universal, like it's getting better.
That's why you need to brew more imperial stouts and barley wines.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Speaking of that, can we do Operation?
I'm just gonna keep saying it over and over until you do it.
Okay. Are we doing Operation?
And then Nightmare. Operation, then Nightmare. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Okay. Dan, can you get the 2 cans of Operation?
No. I'll wait.
Okay, we'll take it in turns because Mike's probably going to go to the fridge. It's actually really fun talking about like all the old Belgian shit, man. Because that, like, I kind of, even when I moved to Quebec, it was actually dope because I was in my Belgian phase. So all the Unibrew stuff was like, totally. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
You get it at
everywhere, and it was like exactly what you guys. Thank you, sir. It was exactly what I wanted to drink because that was really what I had been drinking, and I thought that was super cool. Like I really, really enjoyed it, and it was interesting though. Just speaking about all this, like over time, how palates change. Like being that. We've all had so many different beers. I'm pushing 6,000 right now, at least reviewed. Like, you kind of just know what you like and what you don't like. So while I would never write off a beer and I would basically try anything, I kind of just know what I prefer at the end of the day. And it's sort of like kind of such Belgian triple, fuck, man. I think I had some recently. I was like, yeah, it's really just not for me.
It's not your thing.
You kind of just got to know yourself, I think, at some point. And
by the way, Mike, I did a little blendy blend in my glass here, and this isn't a terrible combination.
It works, eh?
I did a little blendy blend in my glass.
Of what?
These guys.
Oh. Jesus.
I like the idea of that.
So like, I want to just, like, because this is the first time this is being seen, right?
Oh, shit. This is an exclusive.
Yeah, so it's...
Why do you have both?
Yeah, yo, get your fucking PR in order, bro. But
Jesus.
Anyway, so, like...
Get on my level now. Fuck.
So, just for anyone, I mean, who's watching? Like, I mean, anyone who's going to listen to this...
There's
like,
5 people watching right now.
Oh, yeah, okay, so sick. Well, look, Operation started as a double IPA.
Okay.
And it's ending in a double IPA, but I think the origin of the double, like, look, I'm gonna be honest, like, this is like, I love the label that Keegan came up with. It's amazing.
The new one or the old one?
One of the things that the new one. I came up with the old one. But I'm a little bit more gimmicky. Like I'm like thinking like little cartoon type things. It was all fun, but
which is this?
I think that for the recipe and for the style that we're moving towards, that this new label, and again, I'm gonna tie it into the fact that I want us to be more educational than not.
Yeah. And
the fact that it's about understanding like what a hop is, where it comes from, but. Anyways, I showed you guys like before today's webcast, whatever you want to call it, the original shade of Operation, and like we'll pour it.
Very different, eh?
Look at it. Honestly, like a lot of people don't notice, but the original Operation was like almost red.
Which we were talking about.
It was
it was dark. I remember.
Yeah, so it had a combination of caramel malt and again, being fully transparent, we used a certain amount of caramel 2, which is a specific malt that adds like green color. But like, you know, normally when one of us gets influenced by a certain style, we'll add a beer to the whole game. It won't be a transformation, but I had a wedding in San Fran.
It's San Francisco or SF, we were told. Only tourists say San Fran. I was corrected aggressively last trip, so I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry, Mike.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Like, I have a more vegan vocabulary than the lactose freaks out there.
Wow.
Sorry. Here we go. There's no basis to that, okay? Like, let's just be honest.
That's just what our friends told us, because we were like, no, they were like, yo, don't say San Fran. We're like, all right, fuck, all right.
It's like people who say Montreal instead of Montreal.
Yeah.
Montreal.
Well, that's it. And like, so, well, I went to San Fran for a wedding. Oh yeah, I'm holding it. Don't worry about it.
I respect it.
Okay. Excuse me. Attention viewers. SF was our destination.
There you go.
I landed in SF, but then I commuted to SD.
Oh, nice. I think you can call it SD is good. That's okay. Yeah, you can call it that. But you can't call it like San Diego. Probably not.
Well, I'm not going to say I enjoyed the D, but like, it's just like making my way to the Diego area.
You're an idiot. Don't change.
I definitely enjoyed a very kind of legacy moment in my life / beer career, which was pit stop at Russian River.
Mm.
Right.
You're actually lying to me right now, Michael, because if I know my geography, Santa Rosa or Windsor is north of San Francisco, and San Diego is south. Therefore, you made a detour, is what you were telling me.
So for all
I'm busting you, boss.
I would like to redirect you to Craig.
Yes.
But for all educational matter,
go back to Mike.
So I'm super bad with young. I'm so bad with geography.
That's okay, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So
you went north to go south.
We ended up in the tap room, and you know, I had Pliny the Elder and Blind Pig.
Ooh,
and
classics.
It just reminded me that, like, you know, when you're living here and you kind of get in your bubble and you're tasting, that it's like, oh, this is what an IPA is, and it's like, oh man, it's like, no, there was no caramel. It almost looked like an imperial pilsner, you know? And
yeah,
it's like,
looked like this.
And, yeah,
that's
it. And it's just like, it's like a light orange, dark yellow type thing, and like that end taste is all about the resinous grapefruit, and like there's a matter of like, I don't know. Anyways, I just got super excited, and I came home and we're like, guys, like, this isn't a second recipe. Like, Operation needs to change.
Right.
You tell me what you think.
Oh, dude, I just listened to you talk and just tasting this because we were in SF in December. I know I need to change the battery out. It's charging right there. Can you pass me that battery? This is much more in line with exactly what you're saying. This is it's malty but balanced. It's subtle. It's a little sweet, exactly like that. It's piney and dank, but extraordinarily balanced. The booze is definitely like not over the top, being it's 8%, which is obviously the same as Pliny as well. Like, I know we joke a lot and like about the lactose and all other shit, but like, bro, like Pliny is one of my favorite, like top 3, top 5 beers of all time. So you and I, for once, we finally align on something. And
fantastic.
I love that beer with more than I ever thought I ever would love a beer, and this is definitely bringing me those vibes.
can you obviously I'm making no claim to like having like helped create a product that is Pliny.
Yeah.
But you could tell, and again, we're not finished. You could tell that the direction is definitely creating a parallel, right?
Oh, for sure. Now, even if you didn't tell me, I guess I had Operation. I checked Untapped and I'd had it before. I don't remember when it was. I would imagine it was one of the earlier iterations. But I feel like I would have been like, hey, man, like, I don't think this is how it was. Like, I might have had it a year and a half ago or something, like a while ago, right? This is definitely like, and this is great, man, because it's not like fucking this. No, I wish you. Oh, you busting out Westy right now, just to flex on us?
No, I'm not gonna bust it, but I just wanted to show it.
Yeah, that's the
curious of what we were talking about.
So that's the version.
You can't just like that.
Yeah, he's gonna like, geez, flexing. So that's the version that I thought was very underwhelming, but I had it very young, so I feel like you'll be getting into like back to the usual territory by now.
To be honest, this is probably so oxidized at this point that I probably don't even like it anymore.
I just want to show.
That's what it used to look like, eh?
That's the previous visual.
And just to compare it to the new one, which I have in my hand here, yeah, man, it's a whole other game. This is
I thought
fantastic.
I'd show this because we were talking about dogfish.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I actually don't want to take away from what Noah's saying, because like that's a godly beer and this is just a thing.
This is great, Mike. This is really fucking good. I love
try
this.
The new batch one day.
Yeah, this is
No,
this...
what I'm gonna do is I actually have a batch in the FD right now. So I was thinking of filling up like what was an old gas tanker and just opening. You need to open your window and just basically flow it in. You have to make sure the kids are at school, and then no, it's good. Sorry.
Just get a swimming
I don't
pool.
know why you stopped. I liked where this was going.
I would say this is my favorite beer of the night. I'm not gonna lie. This is better. This is better to me than the haze even, and I know that makes you very happy, Mike, because I know you didn't expect that. This is fan.
No, you know what?
This is fantastic. This is probably one of the best West Coast IPAs I've had in a while. Like I can't think of a better one I've had this year.
You know what? That makes me happy, not because it's better than the East Coast hazy, whatever you want to call it, but more because like you just had those, and then you had this, and it's like, I'm sorry, but like if I had to call like beers of style, like if you had to call it a nightcap of a beer, it would never, ever be East Coast.
For you?
No. Like a nightcap in general, like that
the last beer?
Sure, but I'm just I'm saying, like if you compared IPAs on both sides of the border, and by the way, the border cuts the US, so it's not really a border. But you know what I mean? Like the last beer, the one that's like, I'm not gonna go to bed feeling like a piece of shit fat ass, right? It has to be the one that's more resinous. Yeah. Like am I the only crazy person? I don't know.
I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like starting off light and then getting richer and richer and richer. That's how I tend to do tastings, but it's not how my body would like it.
Yeah.
In the sense that you want to start off and then finish with the barley wine, but you don't necessarily want to drink a barley wine before bed either.
No. Noah, Pliny, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, man, but like, I disagree in the sense of like Pliny, right? It's an 8% India Pale Ale. They didn't bullshit the label. They didn't call it. It's an 8% India Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is so fucking good. I love this. I can't believe how much I love this. This is fantastic.
I really didn't mean to cut Noah.
No, it's fine.
What are the hops in this, if I may ask? Sorry, Noah, to cut you off there, bro. Everyone's cutting everybody off. What are the hops in this one, bro? Mike, bro? Mike.
So we got... okay, this is one that I can be proud to say which one's the star.
There you go.
So we got Citra and Simcoe.
Okay.
But then the star is Idaho 7.
That's my favorite hop of all time. That could also explain why I love this even more.
And that is why I placed this beer in this podcast.
Because you knew. Look at that. See, you know what? They tried to divide us with the haze and the lactose, but we come together on Idaho 7 and West Coast IPAs.
I've never, ever said anything about lactose.
Oh, but we will very, very shortly. Trust me, because we're about to do a pumpkin lactose beer, which is basic.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's true. You are right.
It's okay. But we will talk. No, but sorry, no. What were you about to say before, dude?
I think I was done.
Okay, I respect it. No, but this is so this new label with the new recipe. The new recipe is available now as far as the people went to the depths and they'll be able to find it, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. And the new label should be rolling out in the next batches because there's still a little more of this one.
Again, for people listening, just to be fully transparent, the beer that we are tasting is currently under the old label. The facelift, in terms of the marketing, is not just, well, it's also because we've changed the beer so much that I've had a very, very select few, but it has happened. I've actually had a couple of people say that they don't like this version.
Why? Compared to the other one?
Yeah, but like, again, it's very minute, and like, I specifically told people that have told me that, saying that like, it's unfortunate, but like, I don't care. In the sense that like, we started it here, and I went there. I got refreshed, and then it was here. We never called Operation a West Coast IPA.
No.
When I came back from that trip, and like it's literally on the label, it's a DIPA. It doesn't say West Coast.
Would you ever put that on?
Weird. Like, why aren't we calling it West Coast? That thing?
Yeah.
That's fully transparent, and Keegan would have said the same thing as here. It's because the Quebec market won't buy Coast IPA as much as they're going to buy double IPA.
Interesting. Hey man, do what makes the most sense.
And
that sucks.
I'm trying to say that was a full sales technique.
Well,
but it makes sense a bit about what you're saying about the people talking about how it's changed and they're not huge on it. I remember talking to Etienne from Vox Populi, and him telling me like he was never really happy with how Double Fruit Punch first became what it was. Like like for the first few batches it wasn't what he liked, but it had such popularity that he kind of just ended up having to stick with it, and then slowly made changes to it over the years because it almost developed such a following that he kind of stuck with it. So it makes sense that even if you brew something that you want to update, or you weren't necessarily, I'm not going to say that you weren't happy with the original operation, but you wanted to kind of tweak it, it makes sense that some people, because there's, as much as there's a huge market for people, sorry, not a huge market, but there's a huge group of people who want constant change and whatever is the most new or whatever, you're still going to have those people who like found this beer, they love it exactly how it is, and that's all they want forever kind of thing. Because I think there's still both those consumers, and I think as beer geeks we forget completely sometimes that those consumers exist. My friend started working at a dep because he wanted to open a brewery, and he wanted to kind of get a perspective of what people buy and what they're looking for. And he told me that it's almost split. You have these people who come in that spend $200 and just buy whatever's new, and then you have these other dudes who come in and buy 6 bottles of Naufrageur Blonde every 2 days.
That's crazy.
And they just stick to that one thing and then just go that route. So it's like, and I had no idea that kind of still existed. Like, I assumed you had our dads who buy Molson export, but I didn't realize there was like a craft equivalent to that.
I'm somewhat surprised by
that. I see that divide actually the most on well, not now because of COVID, but I'm actually like I want to continue this thought. I just want to go grab. I want a visual for this. Give me half a second.
Yeah. What did I miss, Noah? You were just talking about like how the people's like a bunch of shit.
Too bad. You left.
I'm gonna have to come back and watch it again. You know, the motherfucker. Yo, bro, this is like honestly, this is fucking fantastic. You really need to try this. Like, I haven't had a West Coast IPA. Just give it a minute.
Keep rubbing it in, Thorn. You're a thorn in.
I'll keep one for you. I'll send it to Il Perot, bro. Fuck.
We were talking about. Well, I think you were here when Mike mentioned that he had some people that were not happy that the beer changed a little bit.
Correct.
And I was saying that it didn't surprise me because Etienne from Vox Populi had talked about double fruit punch, and he was never happy with how that beer was originally developed. But it developed such a following that he had to only alter it slightly over the years to bring it to what he wanted, so that it wasn't so drastic for the market.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was saying that my buddy Dan, who was trying to start a brewery in Quebec, he ended up working at Multi-Hops kind of as a side gig just to get an understanding of the industry a little bit from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying how you have these customers that come in like more like you and me, I guess, and they just spend money on whatever's new. And then you have these other customers that come in and buy the same beer every day or every place.
Right.
So I just wanted to give a good example of, I guess, a beer that for us is an example of something. So like Operation, we decided to actually just change it, right? Like we're tasting this now. It clearly wasn't what it was. Whether or not people love it, like honestly, if you want traditional, I can't see how you won't like this beer. Like it just for me, it's impossible. Like if you want that traditional feeling of like a resinous, original, more grapefruit rather than what is probably more orange forward today,
mm-hmm.
You can't not like this. But personal opinions, professional opinions aside, a great example of something that I guess we've always felt was like an underdog and like maybe a mislabeled category versus something that people love. And I just want to spend like 2 minutes talking about the dynamic between having a tap room versus distributing, because there's a lot of beer that sells super well on draft because there's those like a dozen customers that are just like the same thing when you think of like an English pub or like when you think of that traditional feeling where there are those people that just it's like, oh, why are we still brewing this? Oh, it's because drinks like 10 pints a day. You know, like it's a real fucking thing. When you're a neighborhood brewery, it's a real thing. And you actually debate, it's crazy. You debate removing a beer from your line because you have like 5 dudes who are just obsessed with beer. And like the best example I could think of in our lineup in the current market. So I'm gonna open this just because I want to show the. It's actually why I chugged my water. I want to show the color. We came out with Ubang at the beginning, and we called it an American IPA. All right.
So it seems like pretty opaque in comparison even to Operation.
Absolutely. It's actually a lighter color than Montreal State of Mind. And the main focus in the like, if we had called Ubang New England IPA, right? Who knows where it would have went? But we called it an American IPA because we wanted a juicy beer that wasn't silky. And I'm going to be completely honest. The only reason Ubang exists is because we went to Boston, and Ben and I, not Keegan was sick, we went to Trillium, and we had a 3-hour tour with one of the guys at Trillium. And we all sat down, and we each had a pint of Congress Street IPA.
Right.
Congress Street is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, UBOM only exists because of Congress Street. And almost every Four Origin beer that's not like app or not unique thing. Coach Connect, Great and Brown was unique. So like we'll talk about the story. All these beers that are like kind of flagship are all because 2 out of 3 or 4 partners went to a place, spoke to the brewer, said this. You don't have this, but sometimes I feel we called it an American idea. I'm like, maybe the market.
Are you guys losing? Are you losing mic too, Craig, or is it just me?
Yeah, I can barely hear this one. I thought it might have fixed up. We missed kind of most of that mic. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm hearing like a lot of wind. I don't know from who that's coming from. That's better. That's a lot better.
That's a lot better. Yeah. So look. Anyways, I don't want to rub this on because I want to taste nightmare. But my point was that a lot of our rationale for what we brew comes from travel and speaking with other brewers. And when we went to Trillium and we spoke with, one of the guys that's been there since day one, and we all had Congress Street, we came back and we're like, fuck, we got Congress Street. But the thing is, in the US, there's this bullshit about like DDH, it's all just IPA. And it's like, had this like singular thought when we came back as being like, let's call it an American IPA, being like, oh, that's gonna sell the point. But the market here changed so fast that like maybe UBOM isn't the best beer, but I also feel sometimes that it's kind of lost because what's an American IPA in Quebec? I don't know if does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
Well, I think it speaks to what we were talking about earlier about like semantics and nomenclature and how all these terms are confusing and almost become irrelevant at times. I mean, if you look at Hujon hops from Trailway, they call that an American IPA.
It's a straight New England.
What does that mean?
Yeah. It's not though.
But I don't find a New England like a modern New England either. I find it more closer to a Vermont style, whatever that like. No, that's the thing. I feel like everything.
But what's that difference, bro?
It's a big difference.
What? Okay, sorry. I need you. I'm not going out. You guys taste more. Please explain to me what the difference between a New England and a Vermont style.
Oh yeah. Have you had Heady Topper?
Yeah.
So Heady is have you had it like?
I don't like it. Okay. I don't like it as much as Focal Banger.
Okay, that's a lot of people say that. Have you had Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay, those two are the actual fetus of what a Vermont IPA is. A New England IPA is everything you've ever had from Treehouse and Trillium. So basically, a Vermont is probably a little more malt forward. You get a little bit more. You still get a lot of the fruit, and it's still opaque, but it's definitely not bright yellow. It's probably more like browny, like probably looking more like Hopperation. Noah, jump in if I'm wrong here.
No, and you drink more than me, so you're more of an authority than I am. But that's essentially how I look at it.
Yeah.
But again, it's all. I feel like everyone can also have a little bit of a different story with that.
But those are just the OG.
Like
if
think
you're looking
New
at
England
styles
these days. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. The Vermont is like, I'm not even describing it. It's basically just Heady Topper and Sip of Sunshine. But now you're talking about New England because that is a different. The Vermont IPA is not debatable. Like you can't debate. Those two beers are Vermont IPAs. and they were very often confused with New England IPAs, but they were the predecessor. Heady started this shit. I would imagine that Heady came before Lawson's, because I think Sean Lawson was working for someone else at the time. So he came after that, and then the shit kind of went crazy from there in Massachusetts. Just that, I mean, it's still all New England. So you could argue that it's because Vermont is New England, it's a New England IPA, but it's not. It's really very different. And I know that I just got it from my brother last night. Beer McGodspeed just did a collab with Sean Lawson, a Vermont IPA, not a New England IPA. They did a Vermont one, so I haven't tried it yet. I just got it. That is a very, very different beer to what the two beers we had tonight, the Sanka Cat and Montreal State of Mind. That's a New England IPA.
Yep.
So, no, I'll let you take over here. But the New England IPA just has a bit more... You could argue more about what a New England IPA is, but you cannot argue about what a Vermont IPA is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see it the same way. But even if you just look at Four Origins, like, I think you calling Hubom an American IPA is probably, to me, the clearest description of that beer, because you gave me a 4-pack recently, and I drank them all, and I enjoyed them all. And to me, that beer is kind of like bridges that gap a little bit between an IPA that's a little bit, I'm not gonna say more traditional, but it doesn't have that like turbid like hop. Like the sharpness that you're gonna get in some of the more New England IPA kind of thing.
But that's it, right? Like, that's my sorry. Maybe Greg, you missed because I'm trying to because I've actually never gone down this road before with the Vermont versus New England. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to overspeak here, but for me, I have to bring back Congress Street into this because it's too relevant in terms of being one of the OGs in all of Massachusetts beers. Like literally, like that beer was probably existing as one of the only beers that had probably 12 months on the market with rotation, considering like if you look at today what the rotation is and whatever, but I want to make sure I'm clear, like Congress Street, because I understood from Greg that would be considered New England, but for me is that New England?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I don't even know if I've had it. Let me just double check, but I'd take Noah's guidance on this one.
It fits within the whole Trillium.
I haven't had it, no. Basically, I've never seen anything from Trillium.
Sorry.
No, that's it. Heady Top. I'm looking at This is a New England IPA. Like, sorry, this is like a picture of it from Untapped. That is Congress Street. That is a New England IPA, like a motherfucker. Vermont IPAs do not look like that. Vermont IPAs look more like Hopperation, probably a little darker.
Like Hopperation or Ubom? It can't be Hopperation.
Okay, so probably, sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, wrong one. Ubom. Vermont IPAs look much more like that. Like a New England IPA typically is more turbid and a little more milky, rather than just opaque. Heady Topper or even Focal Banger is also a New England. A Vermont IPA. They're opaque beers. They're not like straight up and down New England IPAs. And if you put any of Alchemist beers, I don't believe even Alchemist make a New England IPA. If you put any of their beers next to something from Trillium or Foam or Burlington Beer Company or even the new IPAs from fucking Zero Gravity and shit, you'll see the difference. It's night and day.
So I'm actually like, it's very rare for me to do this, but I'm gonna step out of this one just because I actually feel like maybe I haven't been enough out of my bubble lately.
Fair.
And I'm not entirely, it has nothing to do with being in agreement, but I'm not entirely sure I get the difference.
No problem.
And I'm just being very transparent there.
But even coming back to the original conversation about American IPAs, it sounds, Noah, would you say, because American IPA even has a perception like over and above what a Vermont and what a New England IPA is? That's two other things. Noah, would you say UBOM being called an American IPA is an accurate reflection of what that beer is, based on maybe what the perception from the average consumer could be?
I'd say, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt Noah.
That's okay.
As the like, if I had to translate, and this is an opinion, if I took what you guys said as a regional influence and style, and how we conceived UBOM, then I was wrong in calling it an American IPA. Because unless we fucked up the flavor profile, and this is actually why this is why I brought it into the conversation, because the fear was always that we had this hidden New England style beer that we mislabeled, and then everyone always marking as like a 3.5 on 5 because they couldn't place it. And I'm like, why the fuck is that? Like, I love that beer. Like, it's a great beer, but why is it always being like meh? Anyways, Noah, you.
Well, I feel, and I hope we're not fucking you up, Mike, because to be perfectly honest, I don't think. I mean, maybe there are people out there who really are authorities on this, but I find it's all so vague. And I'm kind of aligned with Craig and what he's saying, so that leads me to think that maybe we're on to something, but it doesn't necessarily make it fact either. But it's also just goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's all moved so fast, and the terminology also just, it often doesn't make a lot of sense. And what you were saying earlier about the double dry hop thing, I think I could be wrong, but I think Trillium alone is responsible for that, because what they were doing is they were creating Congress Street, and then they were creating double dry hop Congress Street, and then they were creating this beer and then double dry hop version of that beer. So they were having like both, and then so that DDH thing became this terminology. And then so when breweries like Trillium came out, they're like, look, not Trillium, Masorum, they're like, look, we just think IPAs are IPAs, but we're going to call them all DDH. And then that kind of like infected, for lack of a better term, the Quebec scene, and so everyone calls DDH like that's become the thing, right? If it's Sir John or whatever, because before that, like there was like the Boreal didn't call Nord-Est a DDH, right? But it's all the same shit. Like, I don't know. But anyway, to go back to what we were talking about before, specific to UBOM, I feel like there's a significant difference between UBOM and Montreal State of Mind, and a significant difference between UBOM and MTL 514, which is not MTL 514, but
La 54. La 54.
La 54. So I feel like calling it American IPA and any IPA actually makes sense. Whereas, I feel like the New England Pale Ale and the any IPA from Montreal State of Mind fit the flavor profile in what I'm used to a bit better. Like, I would almost classify UBOM closer to that Vermont thing than the New England thing.
Yeah.
That made sense.
Even that Godspeed one, they're calling it a Vermont style IPA.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello. Team Lactose, are you here?
Yeah, I want to, again, I always feel like I have to play a neutral host. I just want to defend the DDH thing to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like it's very noble of me because I'm completely against it, but so my defense for this is honestly it's a sales tactic versus an approach where I'm the first one to be like, really guys, you have to say DDH when Pliny the Elder, which isn't even DH, was a double dry hop IPA at 8% West that just called themselves not even IPA. That's what. Okay, sorry. Okay, slow it down. So They didn't even say IPA. It was just India Pale Ale, right? And I totally get that. But like I'm also planning West Coast style regimen, which means like dry hopping cold, resinous, bitter, grapefruit, whatever, right? So you know what? Maybe this whole idea of education, which is like which of the three hops is the most forward, and like whether you're a single dry hop or double dry hop, maybe this is only relevant for New England IPAs in the sense that there's such a short life that you have to sell how it's done. You know, like it's not necessarily a matter of shitting on these guys being like they did it, but maybe the logic is that why is that called an India Pale Ale? Because it has double the lifespan. Instead of a New England IPA that's double dry hopped with massive amounts of hops, clearly it's an agricultural product that goes bad. So, anyways, I don't really know where that was going, but
no, I see what you're saying.
I think
I was going to even piggyback what you were saying, Noah, about the double dry hop with Huge on Hops is a great example because I'd seen this once before with a brewery in Buffalo, New York. I forgot the name. It wasn't Thin Man, it was another one. And they had their main IPA, which I was told to buy, and then they did a double dry hop version of that same IPA. That was the first time I'd ever seen it. So, like, Huge on Hops, we've had that a million times, and then, like, in the last month, they sent us the double dry hop version, which was great.
Yeah.
So there is actually...
It was a different beer.
It was a different beer.
Both were excellent.
And it was actually very different. It's like if you had Ubom, and then you double dry hopped it, say the original isn't, and you called it a DDH version, that's a different beer. Is it marketing? Fuck yeah, it's marketing. Is there anything wrong with that? Fuck no, it's business. But is it a different product? Yes, it's a different product. And that's what the difference is, and that's what the New England people... Now, is every Masoran beer double dry hop? Yeah, they don't do that shit. They don't do a non-dry hop version and do a double dry hop version. They just do everything double dry hop, and that's okay. But some breweries do a double dry hop. If you went and did a DDH version of Ubon, they'd be like, oh, okay, so it's going to be probably a little hazier and a little fruitier. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's insane about this topic is that like last time Montreal State of Mind for dry hop, right? Everyone knows all these hazy beers. Ubon is double dry hop.
Yeah. So that you could call it a DDH American IPA, and that would be what it is, and it's not a lie. It's marketing, but is there the real question? What I think we're getting to here is there something wrong with saying that? Now I think that's up to the individual.
I think I'm going to say something somewhat controversial, but and Craig, you might be able to answer this because you did so much more traveling, especially around hazy IPAs.
I'm not responding to any further commentary.
Why not?
Until we get lactose.
My question quickly is it just Quebec that are releasing DDH beers without having an original version of it first?
Oh, God.
I would say no, because I don't think Ontario does it either. The only places I've seen it were upstate New York and Buffalo. I think they were called Big Ditch, if I'm not mistaken. There was, of course, Trailway, a few other breweries, but I don't...
Yeah, but... Sorry.
No?
What I was going to say is, I guess my question is, like, let's say Trailway, right, where they have Hujon hops, and then they do a double dry hop version of Hujon hops. But I'm noticing in Quebec, it's what's become the trend is to just create the John Smith or the ABC beer double dry hopped IPA, but not ABC and then the double dry hopped ABC.
I think well,
it makes the term relevant because most beers are probably double, triple dry hopped anyway.
Correct.
Like Alex said, LTM's been quadruple dry hopping his double IPA for years, right? So it doesn't the DDH thing I think has become meaningless, and I think it has become a buzzword in Quebec. But I guess my question was, are other places using that term universally, or is it only ever as like a secondary version or like a double dry hop version of an original beer?
I would say the least common thing is the Trailway and the Buffalo example. I can't think of another example that have done an original version and then done a double dry hop version. Everything is just automatically double dry hopped. So when I first saw that beer, the one, I forgot even the name of it because it was a couple of years ago, my friend said to go there and he's like, yo, get there whatever the fuck IPA. And so I went there and they had a double dry hop version. So I'm like, hell yeah, give me that haze. And then that was fire. And then when this year, that was like 2 years later, I can't think of another example. And then this year, like a month ago, when Trailway sent us the double dry hop version of Hujon, which I already love, is one of my favorite beers in Canada in that style, I was like, that's fucking amazing. Now it's like a different version of the beer that I already love. There's going to be extra hazy and extra fruity. So I would say everywhere just says DDH, and very, very, very few people do an OG and a double dry hop version. So therefore, it's the opposite. Okay. Nobody does that. So therefore, the opportunity for marketing, and as anyone who listens or watches BAOS, we do not have a problem with marketing on this podcast. I love marketing. I think if Mike decided tomorrow to do, even though fucking Hubom, for example, is probably not the best example because it's already a double dry hop, but if you did a quadruple dry hop and you wanted to ramp it up a bit, you could do a QDH version of Hubom. And
no.
I know you're saying no, but I'm saying, like, marketing-wise, it's fine. If you as a brewer don't want to do it, then don't fucking do it. But if you want to do it and market it that way, it's okay, because there is a difference between the original product and then the double or quadruple dry hop version. That's all.
Should we do this while we're
can we get the lactose? Because I'm tired of Mike not having lactose tonight. He's upset. He's on edge because, yes, can you please get that down? Thank you so much. Mike needs lactose and pumpkin in his life. Oh, Mike, where's my pumpkin beer? Fuck, man. Sorry, dude. Thanks, bro.
I said that I wouldn't get into this.
But you know you're going to get into it, Mike. You know, we're amongst friends.
You say that every 10 minutes and then you come right back.
I know. I'm such a fucking...
We're amongst friends, Mike. You feel this is a safe space for you, bro. You express what you like.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Just let me pour this beer and take a sip before I get into this one.
Yeah, because you need that lactose hit before you can really talk about any real shit. You know? Oh, fuck.
You know what? What happened?
Oh, I couldn't get the top open. I think I pushed the ring pull too hard.
Can you stop making a big deal of like little schoolgirl problems, please?
Sorry, bro. I apologize. Won't happen again. I'm just gonna drink my lactose and shut the fuck up.
All right. So hold on. Just before we get into how great this beer is, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not tooting the own horn. It's just a great beer. But I just wanna.
You want to talk about lactose, huh? All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah, he still wants to talk about the DDH thing.
Oh, the DDH? Okay.
I need to...
Get it off your soul, bro. Get it off your soul.
You know what? Like, I don't feel bad that I'm super passionate about this.
Don't ever feel bad.
At the end of the day, for me, it's not selfish. Always about the consumer. So,
right.
Whatever.
Even if it wasn't, it's okay.
Yeah, it's super okay, but it's just the fact that I disagree with Craig in one sense, but I agree with the principle. It's more that, like, if you're gonna upgrade your product, right? So if you're gonna say that, like, oh, we're gonna release like DDH, right? And like I'm gonna like whatever. You better make sure that the products that you have on the market and that you already had are less, in the sense that, like, don't have a product that you didn't market properly that you repackage with different hops only to call it DDH. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's fair. That's a different conversation, but I think that's very fair. And if people are doing that, then that's a little...
I think it's happening. That's why I just wanted to be clear.
I think that's completely fair, and I agree with you. But I still stand by, I think it's actually, if anyone does a DDH version of a different beer that is not what you're talking about, that literally the beer is not DDH and you decide to double dry hop that shit, and it technically tastes like a different beer and it's a different experience for the consumer, then it is okay to repackage that as a slightly altered variant of the original because it's authentic. Anything misleading the consumer, I am vehemently against. I am a consumer at the end of the day. I do not want to be misled. So I think we're on the same page with this one. And if people are bullshitting people, then that's fucked up and I'm not with it.
100%.
And then on the other side, we're all team lactose here right now. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Let's do this. Yeah. I never thought I would drink.
Just a disclaimer. I planned, like, when we brewed this beer again, we only brewed it again because we knew we were coming on the podcast, and essentially I took a teaspoon into the lactose bag when the guys were brewing, and we put it into the kettle, and I'm just joking.
Oh, I've had this before.
There's lactose, but there's less lactose than caffeine.
I'm okay with that. I think I had this last year.
Am I crazy, or was there no maple syrup and honey in previous batches, or was it always there?
No, it's always there. We just changed our resources.
Ah, okay. Okay, I've had this twice. When did I have it? November 2, 2018 is the last time I had this beer. So this has been around for a while. Yeah, talk about this beer and why you decided to join Team Lactose, Mike. I'd really love to know like what your inspiration was for, getting on board the lactose train.
He's got a story about this beer.
This is different than most things. Can I share my screen?
Do you know what?
I think you can.
I think you can. If you share it on Skype, it'll just appear that way. It'll be like basically I'm looking at a sliver review right now because we're on a 3-banger because Keegan fucked it up. But if you share the screen, we could definitely see it.
Give me 1 second to see if I have the can.
Yeah. Have you had this one before now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I've had every year. This is the 3rd year now, I think.
How has it changed at all? Because you're a bit more,
I'd like to hear his thoughts on that. I feel like it had a bit more body in previous batches.
Do you know what?
I think he upped the spice.
Up the spice. And do you know what I think the problem is, Noah? Less lactose.
Not enough lactose.
And the lactose, what does that do, Noah? It gives it body.
Yeah.
And I don't.
I've heard that.
Yeah, like I've it's a true thing. Did you lower the amount of lactose in this beer, Michael?
No.
I hope not.
What?
I said I hope not.
He says I hope not.
Yeah, it's funny because usually around the time of the year when I go to bed, I pray that our hopes align. So, anyways, sorry, bad joke. So, I can't find the photo, but it's like super, super clear story. Actually, Nightmare is the third recipe I ever wrote as a homebrew.
Okay.
Like it was surprisingly early, like for all the stuff we did. Actually, it was Apricot and Caffeine, and then the third one that I locked in was Nightmare, and it was because of one sole reason. So I told you before I would come back that my best friend and roommate Yanni came back from the West Coast, and what makes this story super cool in terms of the current market and whatnot is that this was when Elysian hadn't been bought yet.
Okay.
And I was always into experimental beers, and it's funny because I'm I'm not going to talk shit about craft brewery, but let's be honest, the worst possible pumpkin beer that has ever existed is McCausland's.
It's pretty bad.
I haven't had it for a while, but
no,
yeah,
guys, let's just live. Let's not even waste one moment. Okay, so what happens when you're a consumer and you're trying to get your palate up there and whatever, and let's be honest, Quebec was super behind on turning pumpkin beer into a real thing.
Tell me
Like,
about it.
Yeah. Like this year actually was crazy. This year there was like 6, 7, 8 breweries that took out a pumpkin ale, but
that's nothing. Though.
Really?
Yeah, but like
I feel like it died. Like I didn't think anyone was doing it anymore.
I don't know. I look at like Nightmare and I'm like Nightmare got like a good amount of experience there.
Yeah, because it's been what
Nightmare's
at
awesome.
least 3 years.
I love this beer, but I just didn't think anyone else was doing it.
No, but that like there are other breweries that was doing it, and like look, I don't want to like toot a horn at all, seriously, but like in 2018 we made Pumpkin Fest, right?
Yeah,
which was like an entire festival, blah blah blah. A lot of marketing for sure. We only released 1 beer. In 2019 we released 2 beers. It was Nightmare and Bone Jack, which was like a pumpkin ale.
Okay.
So it was just
like an amber. Yeah.
It was good.
That's it. And we were planning on doing 3 this year, but then COVID hit. So our commitment, first heard on this podcast, is that whether it's at the tap room or on the market, is that in 2021 there will be 4 pumpkin beers.
4 beer.
And
how many have lactose?
That was my question.
-5.
Wow.
Michael.
Well, the only reason that I get to -5 is there's a specific clause underneath Conseil Quebec that says do not sell to Craig. And it's just because it's that one thing that's like, if the guy's got milk, don't give him this can.
Man,
that's like.
Is that the Ultramont bylaw again? Fuck.
Can you stop stealing the lactose like thing, please?
I'm sorry, bro. I can't help myself. I'm a fiend. I'm a fiend. A caffeine, if you will.
What's gonna be amazing is the day that, and it's gonna happen, that we make a lactose IPA. I feel like even though I'm not in the grave, you're gonna walk all over it. Like it's just.
If it's not a collab, if it's not a BAOS...
Well, you already did with your milkshake IPA that you already brewed.
We're not allowed to talk about that, no.
Anyways. Hold on. I have to address this. I hate you guys and for fucking doing this. I have to let this skeleton out of the closet.
Let it out, bro. It's a safe space.
I'm gonna be full honest.
We're all friends here. We're all mates.
All right. And you know what? There's not a lot of breweries that would get this story up, but so we have 2 brewers. We have Braden and Nick, both the best guys in the entire world, and everything seems to happen when I'm on vacation in terms of like fuck ups in the production facility. It's always like that, right? You leave and it's like whatever, whether it's personal, home, or business, whatever. So. I get like a text and a call when I'm in, I think it was in Portugal, and it's like, so we wrongly dry hopped the beer. And I'm like, what do you mean wrongly dry hopped the beer? Well, it's like, oh well, we were brewing this beer, and we dry hopped it, but we weren't supposed to dry hop it. I'm like, okay, so what's the deal? It's like, well, like that's not the beer now, so we don't have a label, whatever. Fuck. We dry hop this like non-hoppy beer with a shit ton of hops, and I'm like, the fuck do we do with this shit, man? It's like it's like a blonde beer dry hopped, and like, but like with a massive charge, right? Like, and you're like, and it's so. This is where we also did a collab. We also did an in-house thing with Sabro. I got super excited when Sabro came out, and I was like, I bought 40 kilos of Sabro. And there's the at the brewery right now is at 5. And the 5 went into this thing, okay? And they went in, and everyone's like, it's so nice and full, and like, but it's thin. And I'm like, fuck, that's you can't sell that. You can't sell like a thin beer. And it's like, when it's hazy and it's nice, whatever, like it's not good, but it's just
lactose.
Okay, so that's what happened. And I'm like, so why don't we have lactose? And I'm in fucking like Europe, right? And I'm like, sounds like a fucking great idea, guys. Yeah. So, okay, and this is actually educational for any brewers listening, but so when you add the lactose to a beer, you're adding it in the boil. Okay? There's like it wants any sugar ever needs to be added in the boil unless it's a fruit or whatever, because there's some kind of like interchange and like a good chemistry of mixing. Okay? But we were caught in a hard place and whatever, and we like it's like, oh, it's not fucking like shit. We didn't send it to distribution, like it stayed at the brewery and it was on draft and whatever. We're like, fuck, we don't want to dump this. It's not bad beer. It's just like there's no way to sell this. Like fucking add lactose and call it milkshake IPA. Amazing, right? we add lactose in the bright time. Okay, so what we did is basically we have a pilot system. So we have like a small little kettle and whatever. So we boiled like what was it, like 100 kilos of lactose. Like something fucking stupid, right? Like and we're like fucking amazing. We added it to the bright tank before transferring the beer into it. We're like, oh, it's just gonna mix amazingly. It's just gonna be like just an amazing mixing tank. So it turns out that when you add lactose to an IPA, later, it acts as a fucking clarifying agent. So we had this lactose IPA in can that was crystal clear. And I was like, guys, like, what? Like, no. Like, we can't fucking sell this shit. Like, no. I mean, like at least pack the kegs in the tap room and see how it goes. Fucking sells out. Like, ridiculously sell. Like, just, you put it on the board, lactose, like, Sabro IPA, whatever. But just done. And I'm literally looking at these clients being like, fuck, I love hops. I'm like, your beer is clear. They're like, yeah, more taste. You know, something just nuts. And then it's like, we have all this stuff that we ended up canning it. We did like fucking like 1,500 cans. I just sold out. And then there were people coming back being like, yo, where's the lactose like milkshake? Where's milkshake? I'm like, your milkshake wasn't like, who are you? You know, it's like it was this huge confusion for me where it's like, who's the person creating the clear milkshake IPA? Like that can't be a thing.
Are you looking at Craig's face right now? Because it is so smug. It is the smuggest of smug things I've ever seen.
I got nothing to say. I feel like the results spoke for themselves.
I literally feel like I just explained like how I lost my virginity. That's how open I am with you guys right now. And I see his smug ass face, and Noah's just talking. And like, you know what? Like, guys, I only have 5 minutes, so we gotta do this in 5 minutes. So.
Okay. Really, you got a place to be?
It was a joke. I have nowhere to be. That literally, when your life is that story, you have nowhere to be.
Yeah. Well, you should be on the phone getting some more lactose. I don't know what you have to do, but you gotta get that shit, bro. Obviously, you know how to use it.
Dude, so we made the fucking lactose IPA. You know, it was a mistake, okay? And I was in Europe, and I just didn't know what to do, okay? But the point is that your consumer who loves this shit bought it clear. Do you understand why I have all this skepticism about the market? That people are like, yo, fucking milkshake IPA, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it looks like water. They're like, yeah. I'm like, what? You know, like, where is the correlation here?
I mean, look, that's not optimal. I mean,
to play devil's advocate, it wasn't a bad beer. What did you think of it? Did you hate it?
Absolute ballsack.
You hated it?
Like, hey, Nick and Braden, I love you guys, but yeah, I hated it.
I sometimes feel like your your feelings towards lactose is almost barring your palate to the fire that lactose brings. And you know what? Let's just do a lactose collab, Mike. I'm tired of this. Let's just do a fucking lactose collab. Let's put balls to the wall. Let's just fucking do it.
It's almost as if I'm talking to like a diabetic. Like some stuff is like broccoli does have some kind of like vegetable sugar, but like your Kit Kat bar has more, you know.
But
a broccoli
just to go
IPA
back to
is a
what
good
we're talking
idea.
about. Is
Okay. I'm out.
Broccoli
the
IPA?
IPA?
Come on, a broccoli milkshake IPA. A broccoli Brussels sprout milkshake IPA. Let's fucking go.
The IPA that you're talking about, is that the same IPA that you canned and gave to me?
With the purple label, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That wasn't a disaster.
So no, this is where like I truly do agree with Craig in the sense that like I have my personal opinions about things, but I think I just hate on unconvertible sugar. Like because it's not for me if I was inventing the law, it should be called like a beer alternative. Like I just don't agree that like this is the only place in the entire German purity law that I agree that like first of all, actually that's false. Okay, because the German purity law was already like they were already like had a stick up their ass. If they knew that lactose was on the table, you know what? Like World War II might have actually. I'm gonna fucking straight up say it without any regrets. Like,
but
they're like it's disgusting.
But you also put it in Nightmare and Caffeine.
Yeah. Okay, exactly. So let me explain why. Right? It goes back to everything that I said before.
You're cutting out, man.
Sugar versus body. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me go. Like, the fact that there's a difference between residual sugar and body. And for me, because lactose is an unfermentable sugar, it's not a part of the conversation of residual sugar. It's about body. So if I have Nightmare, let's say, right? And I'm like, we brewed it, we let it ferment, whatever, and it like I didn't add lactose. Okay? It fermented super dry, right? And I'm like, all right, well, that's not fun. That doesn't have like a porter / stout mouthfeel. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm gonna make my mash temp higher, and I'm gonna keep some of those sugars in. But I'm like, you're brewing in this beer, same as caffeine. You're brewing with this beer. It's not a matter of like balancing it out with hops. Like I'm using cinnamon, clove, allspice, whatever. Like it's not about keeping malt sugar. Man. If I had not added lactose and then just upped the mash temp of Nightmare, it would have still been unbalanced. Sugar has its place when it's in a style that has other adjuncts, like pastry stouts. Try to brew that without lactose, you fail. Stuff like, anyways, that's my personal opinion.
No, that's fair. I gotta be even honest since you've been so honest.
You're contradicting not to be a dick, but you're contradicting yourself because you're saying that it's not allowed in one style, but it's allowed in another. Why am I defending lactose? You know what? Fuck lactose. You're right.
No, hold on. I will not be contradicted, certainly by myself. Okay? So, sorry, bad joke again. Anyway, I'm not saying it's not allowed in a style. I'm saying that, like who the fuck makes this hops and lactose? It makes sense, man. Like, it's just so, it's so, like, just fucking go buy a goddamn coconut chocolate bar at the Couche-Tard. Like,
I'm with it.
Beer. Like, who the fuck are you? Like,
this is
like, by the way, the Oasis, like that little, like, oh yeah, do you hear it calling? Because like I think Couche-Tard is having a fucking 3 for $5 sale right now. Like, who is drinking this? Who's drinking it? Malibu as a beer? Oh my god.
That's me. Do you know what? It's fucking fire. And you know what? Sometimes I think you have to. Beer is for everybody, and there's a million tastes. Now, I stand up for lactose mostly to piss Noah and Chris from Hops and Bros off. And
no, now it's to piss Mike from.
Now it's to piss Mike from Four Origins off. I genuinely dig lactose. My favorite beer series of all time is Milkshake from Bellwoods, and I fuck with milkshake IPAs heavy. But look, I'm going to be honest, since you've been so honest today, Mike. If there's too much lactose in the beer, it absolutely ruins it. Too much lactose is fucking horrible. So if it's used correctly, lactose, like one of my favorite low ABV beers is Petite Vite from Rallebach, which is 2.5%, and it has a touch of lactose to give it a bit of body, and it boosts it up, and you don't really taste the lactose. It just replaces the lack of malt. Now, you're shaking your head as if it's trash. That's fair. I just think it's interesting. I like innovation. But I love Crispy Boys as much as probably you do. Like, I would, if I'm going to be honest, I would take a Crispy Boy from Germany over a lactose IPA, as much as you probably don't believe that.
Got a quote.
No, I've told people. No one believes me. I feel like I have to keep saying it because people don't fucking believe me. Like, I just like, people get so upset about lactose. I want to triple down on it and make everybody upset because I think it's like, look, I love you. I just feel like every consumer has its own shit. So shut the fuck up and just, if people want that, they want that. If people want your goddamn glorious ass pumpkin lactose beer, then fucking make it for them and shut up. I love, and if you don't like it, then that's cool that you can make a fire ass milkshake IPA that people love that you also don't like.
Well, he already has.
That's what I'm saying. Clearly, you know how to do it. Right. I want to hug you. If I could hug you and I couldn't give you COVID, it'd be great. I feel like everything has its place. I don't fuck with your Belgian wit ass shit, but you know what? It has its place. Some people would dig it. So
do we still have any viewers?
Yeah, we have 4. It's barely budged. It's been really consistent all night. Okay. Sometimes it's up and down.
Okay, let me. Okay, you know what? You guys are right. Okay, right? You guys are right. Okay, fine. Milkshake IPAs, imperial stouts, whatever. Okay. I'm gonna tell you where my fight is.
Talk to me, Mike. Talk to me. Let it out. We're here. I'm your therapist.
So one of the things that, like, I'm going to get really heavy into is sours as the brewing goes on.
Okay.
Obviously, over time, we're going to get heavy into kettle sours just because it's a matter of speed to market. But as the brewery grows, the barrel project will grow, and I want to do like true sours, barrel aged, bottle conditioned, everything. Okay, so in terms of like getting into sours, it's obviously usually about fruit, right? Like into these like to these kettles at least. So like we're gonna get heavily into the fruit. Now, when I talked about moving too fast before, the best possible example that I could give, how Quebec basically forever has had no real sours. Like we've had Brett, we've had lacto, we've had mixed fermentation. The concept of American sour has just been non-existent here. I just want to.
The last couple of years,
it has no, and I just want to like make a shout out to like. Only because like I just had it yesterday, but like I'm gonna call out like Adjunct's recent assemblage with the grape.
Shit's amazing,
and it's honestly just spectacular, right? Like I taste this and I'm like I'm in the U.S., which for me is like I've never had this feeling here. And I'm not saying that I'm a guy who's gone to the U.S. and tasted all these fucking beers. I'm not saying that. Whatever, it's like. But like when you look at Cantillon and the fact that like they have a certain sourness, or when you go to Cascade Brewing in the US and they have a certain sourness, both of them different by their wood. And they have Avant-Garde that just came out with this. Like literally like, what, has it been a couple of weeks? No, what's the name of the beer I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
With the grape, they fermented on grapes?
Yeah, they just released it three new barrel-aged sours, but I don't remember the name.
Well, anyways, whatever they're doing with their like it's sick. Like it's not Brett. It's not just like an acidulated beer that sat in a barrel, and it's not just like a sour beer because it's old. It's like an actually like tannically puckering tart beer because the fermentation was super clean and well maintained. And it's like you come out with this and you buy a bottle for $10 and you're like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, all that to say that like kettle sours, they're getting into that whole new level too, right? Like it's you look at like Jelly King and all these guys, right? And it's like it's a whole thing. Add like lactose in these like death to smoothies. That's it.
You jumped there quick.
I'm not even gonna say anything else. You can go fuck yourself with smoothies, lactose, and sorry, I apologize for the swearing, but like it is terrible.
But are there even a lot? Is there even a lot of lactose that goes into smoothies? I just
don't care.
I don't even know. I don't think so. I feel like it's more vanilla and like a ridiculous, absurd. Like one of the ones I had from Brewski was 40% raspberries. 40%, not even water. It was 40% raspberry. I don't even know if there was vanilla in that shit.
Well, wait, did you just say 40? Like the including the liquid?
It was 40 liters. 40 liters per 100 liters or something. They actually said on the can what ridiculous volume.
Yeah.
Let me tell you for sure, because it was like, I couldn't believe it, but when you tried it, it was the same consistency as stuff I'd had from the Vale in Richmond, Virginia. Like, well, I couldn't believe it.
I think the idea is literally like, hey, imagine you took a bunch of frozen strawberries and threw it in a blender. This is what we want the beer to taste like.
I apologize. Yes. Yeah. It was 400 grams of raspberries per liter. So that's 40%, right? 400 grams per liter. And that was the most fruit that ever put into that beer. And it was the Imperial one. It was the most intense shit I had since going to Virginia. So like, I don't know how many of these have lactose. That's all.
I think there's two kind of avenues.
Yeah.
So there is the let's and I am by no stretch an expert on this, but you have kind of, let's go like the smoothie route. So in my experience, which is very, very, very limited, the smoothie route is more what we're talking about, where it's like a literal obscene amount of fruit in the beer, so much fruit that it's literally like drinking a smoothie. But then I think also what you were kind of alluding to, Mike, is
I didn't actually have opinion for the record. I'm out of
neutral. Sorry, but like you have a lot of these. I guess I'd call them adjunct sours. So like something like a kettle sour, a Berliner, fruited Berliner, but let's throw vanilla and let's throw lactose into that. So I wouldn't classify that as a smoothie sour, but more of a, I don't know what they're calling them, but like there's a lot of those coming out. Like Brasserie Générale just released one that was a strawberry, lactose, vanilla sour. And you know what? It actually wasn't terrible. But so like I'm seeing a lot of those, but then on the other side you have the smoothie thing, which is, I feel like, a whole other monster.
But we need to be clear here. And again, this is actually not Mike talking. This is someone else. But joking. But this is more me saying it from a, like, remember, like everything we talk about, and like I don't necessarily want to put origins behind this. This is my personal opinion. Okay, I want to make that clear. But we speak from a production brewery standpoint. So whenever I talk about something that I don't think is sustainable, or like I think is a trend or whatever, it's also about the fact that like you can't expect to have this on the market like just like that, right? And like we look at smoothies and like let's be real here, like it's amazing like that these beers were able to rise up because of COVID. And I'm glad that some breweries had a great idea and whatever, and like we had pickups and whatever, but like I just want to make sure everyone understands that this idea about a smoothie will never be distributed.
No, it's not. It's not possible.
Breweries in the States are doing it.
And
distributed
almost in the case, and I can tie this all the way into why we had the Canadian Brewing Association work with the federal government to make traceability an actual law starting like now. But we do have breweries in the U.S. that have done this, but the ones that have actually pushed it and made a name for themselves have not been able to do so without incidents. In the sense of almost on every occasion an exploding can.
Oh yeah, because it's like unfermentable or non-fermentables sitting in a can exploding.
Like it's right. Always like when you haven't, and that's the beauty about having we're super lucky, and not lucky, but we made the choice to hire we're brewing 1,000 hectoliters a year. We hired someone in QC at 4.0, hired a full-time person, someone who's experienced in it, whatever. It opens up your eyes. You're like, sure, you're going to add a massive amount of back charge and it won't ferment that day. But you put it under pressure and it gets to a Montreal shelf at 30 degree in August, and it's just a matter of time. I'm not talking shit.
No, for sure.
It's pure science,
No, but that's why they have to stay cold.
That's been happening in the States too.
Yeah, those ones have to stay cold, and typically you are correct. They don't distribute those type of beers. I think it's called 450 North in Indiana, the big one.
Yeah, 450 North is the ones who kind of invented, right?
Yeah, the Veil stuff. They do a lot of those really intense shit where you just absolutely under no circumstances supposed to have it warm, and
even the one that got shipped to us, they sent from Nouvelle France. They sent it with an ice pack. With an ice pack. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but when you squeezed the can, it didn't seem like it was even it was almost only 3/4 full.
I didn't really think about that, but potentially, yeah. It's just it's a hard beer to ship. You shouldn't be. Yeah. I think it's they don't. Looking at the can, there's no barcode. It was something that was somebody commented, and I was like, "Yeah, you should try it." And they were like, "Oh, it's really hard to get." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so they must be selling from the brewery only."
It's impossible to get.
But that's it. You can't first of all with Nouvelle France, I'm not gonna comment because unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I haven't been privy to a lot of their products, and
you need a beer blog, mate.
Yeah, actually, that this is a perfect example of I'm going to even talk about the revamp they did the entire brand, but I'm going to talk about the fact that this brewery has, I find them in the same neighborhood as Sir John and everything. It's just been pumping out super solid, and they're not necessarily copying, they're making their own thing, and it's a little innovative, but it's different. And, You can't get beer mail that doesn't have a stamp code on it and then call it out, If it's a smoothie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess there probably would need to be a bit more information about that, or it's kind of a hard one to be sort of shipping around. It turned out okay here, but you never know. It could have gone wrong in the mail for those type of beers.
It could have.
And I know even I know Brewski's been canning their brew juice for a while, but I know Masorum doesn't can their Petit Juice Noir, but they do crowlers of it, which is one thing, and I've never seen them can any of the other ones since. So Brewski have had no trouble.
I think they did. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think.
Oh, they do the Fructus Mortis.
Fruit sour. Sorry.
Yes, they do the Fructus Mortis.
They've done a couple of sour IPAs.
Yeah, and they just did one the other day that was pretty intense, this last release. My boy just got it to me and sent me some photos, and it was
Derek
intense.
just sent me a photo of that.
It was
This is it right here.
Yeah, the yellow one. Yeah, that's the one. Because I had the one before that, the purple.
Said it's quite intense.
Yes, and it's
You tried it?
I haven't.
No.
But I have a can of this coming to me, apparently.
I tried the one before that. And but it's different. It was great, it was not a smoothie sour that you're talking about, though. It's a different conversation.
No.
It's actually a sour IPA with a bunch of fruit, but they specifically even said on their post, this is not a smoothie IPA with, re-fermentable fruit in it. It's a very different beer, and I think that's why they canned that one, and they do not can their Petit Jus de Mort, which is their actual smoothie sour. But then the real question is, I don't know what Brewski do to can their brew juice, because I've had multiple, probably half a dozen of those ones in cans, and it's always on point. Like I've never seen an issue, but at the same token, I don't exactly let it sit there for a month and explode or whatever.
Yeah, they don't distro to like depths and stuff. They don't.
No.
So it's different.
It's a very, you are correct though. It's the new world, and those type of beers just aren't meant to travel. And I think that's really what it got to come down to, is that there's certain beers that are cool for distro, and certain ones that just need to get brewed, canned, and put immediately in a fridge, and then you buy them from the brewery, and that's really all it is to it, and they're harder to get. And it's a different model. Like you guys, once again, it comes back to, and this is why I think is like the beautiful thing about what you do, is that it's that gateway thing, is that you're really opening up the gate for beer to get people into this shit. But you're also, like it's I'm just looking at the cans I have that we've cracked tonight. Like it's interesting, it's eclectic, it's trendy, it's traditional, it's this new blend, like the Blanche de Sud-Ouest is some whole other thing here. Like you've got like a real nice blend of stuff that is able to travel and distribute safely, and people can take it home. Obviously, whilst they can't come and sit in that beautiful tap room and enjoy the beer there, this is the next best thing. What you're providing is a different experience to these other to a lot of the other stuff, and I don't think it's always like, I know we're kind of talking about everything here tonight, but really what it comes down to is, this is what I've always appreciated about what you do, Mike, is that it's just, you're really helping people to bring in more individuals to craft beer, make people feel comfortable, because maybe we're talking about these crazy sours from these guys and the IPAs from these guys, and that's not what their MO is. They're targeting the beer nerds already, and they're already in the game, and that's cool. And you're offering something different, whilst offering even like a touch of the it's almost like a taste of the crazy intense version. You're giving a more balanced version of what the intense trendy shit might be, such as the pumpkin lactose beer that's very restrained. This was great. It was balanced. It was really nice. I enjoyed both those things. I know we're joking about lactose all night. I don't like a lot of lactose, and this was nice. This just gave it what it needed. The haze was, once again, restrained, well done, fruity and tropical and balanced, and a great mouthfeel, and it gave people an idea of what a New England IPA could be. The Hopperation was my favorite of the night. That was a fucking insane, salute to Pliny. Like exactly what you told me it would be. Like, you know what I mean? You've really got a unique offering that I think we need to celebrate. That not all breweries do.
I appreciate that.
You guys have been doing it for a couple of years.
On that note, I think I need to drop.
Yeah. Oh.
Drop what?
What?
A piss?
I need to no, I think I need to call it a night.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
I just one thing. I'm just saying, like, we're about to come out with it again, because it wasn't a beer that we were able to like push out there because it sold so fast. But like, for the first time, we're going to be sending this to distribution, and it's in line with the series, and it's actually my favorite beer that we've ever brewed. But this is going to be coming back on a major scale.
That was a great one.
It's actually our juice box,
Oof.
which is our lemon
blackberry
kettle sour.
Nice.
But honestly, like, we call it a kettle sour, but in terms of acidity, it really pushes the boundaries of what's a kettle sour versus just a sour. So that's it. And this has fucking been awesome, guys.
This has been great.
Oh, you guys don't have to end. I can drop.
No, it's been actually nearly 4 hours, so I think we're sitting pretty good. Mike, thank you so much. I really genuinely appreciate you coming back. It's been fantastic to actually talk shit for a few hours and sit here and hang out after so long. Where can everybody find For Origins online, sir?
So you can find us on our website. We have an interactional map that shows all our retail points. We're actually currently getting our website up to date with Shopify too, so you're going to be able to do for pickup orders. That's going to be finalized within the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, check us out on our site right now or Google for opening hours. But within the next 2 weeks, you'll be able to actually place orders online.
I love it. And it's like at Cat Origin Beer, like 4 Origins Beer, pretty much everywhere, I think, on Instagram, Facebook,
exactly.
Everything. Noah Forrest from Beerism, where can everybody find you online? Noah Jeffrey.
On Facebook, it's Beerism. On Instagram, I think it's beerism.ca.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
It's Twitter, Beerism1. I use it more than you, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ, Noah Forrest. Guys, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, mate. Everybody, if you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the news drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast. And check out the long form audio so you can hear sexual beings like Michael and Noah talk about craft beer every week. We will be back, for anyone watching right now, we'll be back tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Noah is co-hosting yet again. Mike, I appreciate you. Keegan, shout outs to you, my G. Hope your little human is good. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Get it in ya.
Yes, sir.
Later.
Boom. All right. Live people, thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. I'll post it on social. We'll see you then. Peace.